Inside a dungeon, a hero called Spectre was in a face-off with the Ice Queen that taunted him on abandoning his team just to get to her. Answering everything will be fine after he finished her. The fight started and it was a stalemate. But Spectre managed to injure her in the exchange. The Frost Queen died and released a ray of light. A text appeared saying he is absorbing the Frost Queen's power, causing him to be covered in ice. 76 hours earlier, a team of 5 heroes are outside of the Frost Queen's nest. One of them was angry after knowing that only one of them may enter the nest and the rest will most likely die. They were deciding on who will face the queen. One of the heroes said Spectre has the highest chance of defeating the queen. Another hero agreed, reasoning most of them had a disadvantage in facing monsters with ice-based skills. The remaining 2 agreed while praising Spectre's ability. Spectre was hesitant. All of them trusted him and was sure that he would defeat the boss and their death wouldn't be in vain. 25 years later, a presentation was ongoing, displaying the 5 heroes who sacrificed their lives to defeat the Ice Queen. They were all frozen like statues. Because of this, many safe zones appeared on Earth. One of the children watching noticed that one of the statues moved. The presenter denied it because everything temperature controlled 24/7 inside the glass wall and assured them nothing will happen. Everyone was surprised when the statue of Spectre shattered and he fell down. A text appeared congratulating him for absorbing 100% of the Frost Queen's nucleus and acquiring a skill called Frost X. Confused with all that was happening, he fell unconscious. He woke up in a hospital, amazed after finding out he was frozen for 25 years. He found himself too weak after being frozen for too long. Doctors came into the room informing him that the Player Association president will be visiting him. He asked them if it's someone he knows, thinking that if it's someone he doesn't know he'll just send them away. They replied that the president said that he was a close friend of Spectre. He wondered who it was because there aren't a lot of people who would call him a friend. He thought the world has really changed and remembered his teammates' sacrifice for the peace they all wanted. But then he was confused about what to do, and being unemployed, all he knows is how to fight. He removed his mask, saying he doesn't need it anymore. Because it's a peaceful world and the world doesn't need heroes anymore. The doctors was unsure on what to say. The president arrived and volunteered to explain the situation to him. He was surprised seeing a familiar face and asked if he was Deok Bu. The staff stifled a laugh. The president was embarrassed and asked them to leave. He addressed the hero with his real name, Jun-ho. Jun-ho made fun of him for being bald. The president scolds him and expected too much for a touching reunion with a bastard like him. Jun-ho asked him about the doctor's weird reaction earlier when everything should be over. The president flinched. He explained that after they defeated the Frost Queen, every player received the message that the Queen has been defeated and safe zones will now appear on Earth. Everyone was happy and celebrated, but the next message ended the celebration, stating that the next floor was opened. And moving to the frontier area is now possible. Meaning that the Frost Queen was just a start. The players, politicians and the association held a meeting and decided to send an expedition squad to the frontier. The second floor was contained a large amount of knowledge and resources. And they found out there's a total of 10 floors. Hearing this, Jun-ho remembered that it took him and his team 5 years to defeat the Frost Queen. He estimated that in 25 years the current players should have cleared the 7th floor, but he also thought that his team was the strongest and the rest of the players were far weaker. That's the reason that only 5 of them went to fought the Frost Queen. He adjusted his estimates and they should have at least cleared the 5th floor. He asked the president which floor they are on. The president said that in the last 25 years, humanity has only cleared the 2nd floor. Jun-ho was frustrated after hearing this and asked for the reason why. The president explained that to clear the 3rd floor they need the Frost Queen's nucleus. The 3rd floor is a volcanic region and only a few players can resist the temperature and explore the place. They found an altar that requires the Queen's nucleus to cool down the environment. Jun-ho asked nervously if they found the nucleus. The president was embarrassed and apologized that they couldn't find it after searching the nest for a long time. Jun-ho felt guilty because he had absorbed the nucleus. He feigned ignorance and comforted the president. The protagonist is very understanding lol. He thought how should he explain the issue. He decided to visit the museum where his team were displayed. He sat down and told them that the world is in a better place now and offered them a drink. Noticing some dust on the statues, he tried to wipe it off. After touching one of the statues, a text appeared informing him he has insufficient magic to remove the seal with the skill Frost X. Seeing that he can break the seal, he knew he can bring them back. He looked at his stat and found it was too low and it will take him a while to build them up. He saw the skill Frost with an X rank. He was probably the only one with a skill higher the S rank. He also found a title that he received after killing the Frost Queen, which increases his stat by 30 every time he went up a floor. He thought he can regain his previous level and strength by going up the floors and bring back his team. He informed the president that he wants to be a player again. The president was surprised because back then he always talked about retiring. The president was hesitant because of the fiends. The fiends are players who uses their power to commit crimes and terrorism for their satisfaction. Continuing that there are no cameras on the second floor and no country can contain them. They remembered how the fiends wanted him dead back then. The only way he can return is to go back as Jun-Ho and not as Spectre. The president asked him why would he want that. He answered that he needed to get to the 10th floor. And told him he has a way to clear the 3rd floor and he confessed that he absorbed the nucleus. The president was so angry his blood pressure skyrocketed. He calmed down after a while and asked if the reason for him coming back was because of his comrades. He smiled and answered yes. They planned to keep his identity as Spectre a secret and deal with the doctors who saw his face. Jun-Ho informed him that his abilities and stats are sealed and he is at level 1. Jun-Ho asked the president to get him a new player license. The president explained that at present the guilds are more powerful than the association and made it customary to attend the exams. He can only take the public exams to get his license. The president told him they needed a good reason to support him and he needed to have the best results in the exams. The day of the exams, he saw it was quite busy. He sat down and used one of his skills to listen to the people around him and found everything was peaceful. They watched the first examinee take the test. Jun-Ho analyzed that the spear is good to keep the opponents at a distance, but when the enemy gets close, waving the spear around won't help. The applicant failed as he was getting beaten by the goblins. It was finally Jun-Ho's turn. The judges were not satisfied with the previous applicants and that they didn't even meet the basics. They saw Jun-Ho enter carrying all types of weapons and thought he was another Spectre copycat. Duke-gu saw this and thought he was showing off too much. The test starts and the dwarves were demolished by Jun-Ho's spear. Many more appeared behind him and he killed them with throwing knives. Some of the enemies ran away. Jun-Ho sniped them with his bow. Remembering the one who taught him archery, his comrade Gilbert Green. The remaining dwarves rushed towards him. He used his sword to finish them. He was in pain after the fight because of his lowered stats. The judges were satisfied and praised his skills with the weapons, but seeing he only has weapon proficiency skills at D rank, they decided he wasn't worth the time and investment. Duke-gu smiled, thinking there won't be any problem recruiting him to the association. He felt bad for fabricating his profile. In the president's office, the president was losing patience with Jun-Ho for lazing in his office. The president showed him the info on the uncleared gates and asked him if he was going at his current level. Gates are filled with monsters and traps, and gates that have never been cleared are called uncleared gates. Jun-Ho explained that the rewards increases as time passes and dungeons that haven't been cleared in years will give a lot of exp. Duke-gu was worried and there was a safe way to do it. Jun-Ho said his comrades are waiting for him and he will encounter the fiends eventually. He doesn't have much time, he needs to get stronger quickly. They choose the gate called the novice's grave and the clear condition is to survive till the sun rises. With this, he was tied to the association. He asked if he can stay in the association buildings. Duke-gu gave him an armor and it was made by Quan Noya. Jun-Ho wants to thank him in person, but Duke-gu reminded him that people will be suspicious of him if he did that and they will know he is Spectre. He decided to go to the dungeon after training his stamina for 10 days first. 10 days later, he entered the dungeon, feeling comfortable. Checking the clear condition, he thought it wasn't too difficult. He just needs to survive until the sun rises. Previous parties who failed entered too late and fought right away after entering. Jun-Ho waited until the enemy spawned. The monster was a zombie. He activated his skills and got ready to fight. He analyzed that zombies are hard to deal with because they don't feel pain and keep on attacking, and they're perfect to cause newbies to panic. He understood why it is called the novice's grave. After killing all the zombies, Jun-Ho was tired. He heard a voice calling out and asking for help. Jun-Ho found its source and it was coming from inside a coffin. It said all of his team died except for him. Jun-Ho asked it to yell loudly to find its exact location. After the shout, Jun-Ho found where the head is and he shoots through the coffin. Jun-Ho understood why this dungeon had killed over 100 people. It was because of the thing inside the coffin called the trigger. It burst out of the coffin enraged asking how, but Jun-ho didn't give it a chance and sliced it in half. Jun-ho knew that there was no way there was someone left alive in an uncleared gate, and the previous players knew this, but they were fooled by the tricker and died. The text appeared that the dungeon has been cleared. Jun-ho's level went up by 4, and he received a skill called Confession of the Dead, giving him the ability to read the memory of the dead. He was excited in receiving a new skill as player Jun-ho. The world was intrigued about who cleared the Cursed Dawn dungeon in one day. Duke Gu was happy that the big guilds were being ignored. Duke Gu asked him if he really won't show himself, because if people found out that he was the one who cleared the dungeon he will be sought after. Jun-ho answered that it's not yet time. He wants to be someone that everyone wants, but no one can get. And eventually, people will find out who he is. Jun-ho was training hard just to increase his strength by 1 point. He then looked up the uncleared and picked one named Loof's Garden, which appeared 9 years ago and was Korea's oldest uncleared gate. Gates that are left for too long becomes an open gate where monsters will start to come out of it. That is why the government offered a high reward to clear the dungeon. Many people tried to clear Loof's dungeon. There were 124 attempts, and all of them failed and left it for the other countries. They hired a super rookie from India named Tushar Vishy. He was a genius with a bow. Jun-ho thought that he could have been at Gilbert Green's level or maybe better. But Tushar Vishy failed and they stopped the attempts on the dungeon. Jun-ho decided to be more cautious and prepared. He doesn't leave the possibility of the hidden dangers inside the dungeon. He started to train his frost skill to use it properly inside the dungeon. He wondered how strong it will be in a fight. Jun-ho entered Loof's garden and looked at the clear condition. It is to defeat all monsters. Jun-ho was cautious because even a party of 4 failed to clear the dungeon. He found a labyrinth but decided to ignore it for the time being. Loofs are known to spawn at night, so Jun-ho waited and relaxed. As night falls, 2 monsters came out. Jun-ho was a bit disappointed. He summoned an ice spear and threw it at the monster, killing it instantly. Jun-ho was satisfied. More monsters appeared, and Jun-ho was thinking this was a monster wave. Jun-ho continued killing the monsters and chased the running monsters. He thought it was over, but more monsters appeared. He noticed that they multiply once they are killed. Jun-ho was overwhelmed by the number of monsters and used the ice as a shield, then counter-attacked to kill multiple monsters. Jun-ho was exhausted and was wondering how many monsters had he killed. He thought the dungeon was difficult, but it was not impossible. He remembered Tushar Vishy alone could kill half of the monsters that appeared. He was curious why Tushar Vishy and many people failed to clear the dungeon. Jun-ho killed the remaining monsters and cleared the dungeon. He explored the labyrinth and saw the corpses of the previous parties that entered the dungeon. He kept walking and reached the end of the maze, where he saw a corpse holding a bow. He remembered the bow was called the Tempest. If you fire an arrow with this bow, it will fly around unpredictably like a storm, hence the name. Jun-ho paid respects to the corpse and picked it up. He knew this was Tushar Vishy. He also saw a notebook on the corpse and read. The owner was commissioned to clear the Loof's gate in Korea. Tushar was shown accepting the request. At level 10 he was confident and that it was his only chance to enter the Loof gate. He looked for members to help him clear the dungeon, and his lover named Zaya went with him. He also got one of his friends to help him. At the airport, Zaya brought another member named Ram. The only thing left was entering the dungeon. Tushar was excited. When they entered the dungeon, everyone was amazed by the scenery. They snapped out of it and remembered they were inside a dungeon and made plans. When the monster spawned, there are only 8 appeared. They thought it was too little. After a while, it had multiplied to 32, and they started to struggle until one of them got critically wounded. They retreated to the labyrinth while Tushar gave cover. Tushar noticed too that after they defeated the monsters they double in number each time. One of the members died while asking for Tushar to take care of his daughter. The next wave of monsters will come soon, and Tushar prayed for mercy. They defeated the 4th wave of monsters, and the 5th wave is soon to come. They were all exhausted, and Tushar was determined to leave the dungeon. He prayed that there won't be a 6th wave. This time his lover died and he found out that the remaining member was a fiend and tried to kill him. He was injured in a surprise attack. Tushar was furious as he questioned the fiend, and the fiend replied that they were useless and he wants to get the Tempest bow from him. The fiend was unaware that more monsters were spawning behind him. Tushar ran and left the fiend. The fiend was confident he will die from the poison in his knife. When the fiend looked behind him, he was attacked by the monsters. Tushar kept running while his injuries worsened. He reached the end and felt despair as he documented what happened. He accepted that he will die either way. The remaining message asked the founder of the notes to tell their families that they're sorry and asked them to get revenge for them. Jun-ho realized that the number of monsters scale off with the number of players who entered the dungeon. Jun-ho managed to clear it because he was alone and doubted if he were with more players. He took a notebook and plans to return it to the family, as for the bow borrowed it for a while and promised to take revenge on the fiends on their behalf. In the association, Duke-gu passed the message of the Indian government thanking him after returning the diary. And families were informed. Jun-ho was relieved. Duke-gu remembered the bow tempest and said it was a shame, but Jun-ho brought it out and showed him. Duke-gu went crazy and said he should have kept it hidden and it belongs to the Indian government. Jun-ho assured him that he won't use it carelessly. Jun-ho guessed that the fiends were after the bow and that the fiend with Tusher was just a lackey, and he believes the boss will know that he has Tempest and come after him. Duke-gu had an idea who it might be. It was Demon Bow Calciner, because he is a fiend known for collecting bows. He didn't come personally because there was a level limit in Loof's garden. Jun-ho was sure they will come after him at the next uncleared gate. Duke-gu was worried and told him to return the bow, but Jun-ho plans to use it as bait to capture the fiends. They were interrupted by a call from the media asking for an interview with Jun-ho after finding out he was the one who cleared Loof's garden. Duke-gu wanted to chase them away, but Jun-ho stopped and said they need a press conference to announce which gate he will go to next, so he choose where he can fight the fiends. At the conference, Jun-ho arrived wearing just casual clothes. The press was confused. Jun-ho remembered how we dressed up in the past as Spectre and found it annoying. He introduced himself and answered a few questions, then announced the next gate he will take. Everyone was in disbelief after hearing him. They asked him if he was sure, and some thought it may be too much for him because it was the last uncleared dungeon in Korea. And it is believed that there is a boss monster inside. Jun-ho assured that if ever he faced a boss he will surely win. In the next scene, Duke-gu and Jun-ho were looking at all the commission requests Jun-ho received. They choose the one where a father was looking to cure his daughter of a terminal disease that needed the core of a Cinder Fox. Jun-ho remembered that he fought one before and he almost died. Duke-gu showed him the information about the gate. The monster inside was called the Heavenly Fox, and it was at the national level and already killed 7 teams. Jun-ho thought it will be harder than before. Duke-gu explained that other teams will be coming and the player standards have gone up since then. He then told him that it was his friend that commissioned the request. It was the CEO of the Myungo Group, Choi Pil-ho, and introduced him to his own secretary and manager Cha Si-yoon. Jun-ho agreed that it will be suspicious if the president kept doing everything for him. On their way to the client, Cha Si-yoon explained what happened to the family and that the daughter suffers from 9-yin severance syndrome. One of the ways to treat the disease was to use the fox's core. She continued that the who verified its effectiveness 29 years ago was the Spectre himself. She admired Spectre greatly. Jun-ho got embarrassed after hearing it. Cha Si-yoon, not knowing she was talking to Spectre, was confused. Choi Pil-ho greeted them personally after arriving. He bowed and asked him to help his daughter. He offered him 15 billion won as payment and everything he needed will be provided for by the company. Cha Si-yoon thought that it was a great offer and Jun-ho will surely agree, but Jun-ho declined immediately. Pil-ho raised the amount. Jun-ho stopped by saying that 10 billion was enough. Pil-ho asked for his reason. He replied that his reason was the same as Spectre, that you shouldn't take advantage of someone who wants to save their family. After they left, Cha Si-yoon asked him if he heard that story about Spectre from the president. Jun-ho was surprised and answered yes. He asked her if she believed it. Si-yoon knew that Spectre saw how his own parents died and that someone like him wouldn't want others to experience the same pain. Inside, Duke-gu took him to the vault to let him pick his weapon to fight the Cinder Fox. He said that in the last 25 years, technology improved tremendously, resulting in better materials and weapons. Jun-ho tried one weapon and he was unimpressed, stating that in front of true predators, they will be useless. He then noticed a sword in the corner. Duke-gu said it wasn't useful, but Jun-ho showed him it was not. Outside the gate, a lot of people and media gathered. Cha Si-yoon informed him that 27 players will enter the gate. Before going out, Jun-ho reminded her that after today, they will get a lot of requests. After seeing Jun-ho, the media gathered around him asking questions. The other players were also talking about him. They all entered the gate after some time. Inside, one of the players introduced himself as Cha Min-woo, a member of the top guild Cheonghae. He proposed to work together to clear the gate and offer a commission, while he will take the core as a clear reward. Everyone agreed after some thought. He noticed Jun-ho walking away and asked him to join them. Jun-ho declined and kept walking. The player beside Min-woo thought that the rumors about Jun-ho being a genius were exaggerated and that fighting alone was a bad decision. Cinder Fox is a boss monster that grows 9 tails over 1,000 years. Once it grew all its tails, it will become a Millennium Fox. As the number of tails increases, the number of soldiers it can command increases as well. Jun-ho found a spot to scout what was happening and watched the other group. Meanwhile, the other group started to get attacked by fire foxes and activated their traps and stopped the attackers. They relied on their weapons and gained confidence while fighting. Suddenly the Cinder Fox appeared. Seeing his minions dead, it was enraged. One of the members noticed it has 9 tails and was shocked. Sin-woo tried to rally the team, but some were already scared. He was confident that their traps will be effective and that he will kill the Cinder Fox and surpass Spectre. In the next scene, everyone was shown lying on the floor and injured. Sin-woo couldn't believe that none of their weapons and strategies worked. He thought that it was impossible to kill the fox. The fox shot a fireball to finish Sin-woo, but Jun-ho arrived and sliced it in half. Jun-ho told Sin-woo to bring the survivors and leave so he can fight the fox properly. The fox attacked Jun-ho with fireballs, not wanting him to get close. He blocked some of the attacks with his ice shield. As he was trying to get close, the fox attacked him with a giant fireball. The fox noticed him inside the smoke and attacked. Jun-ho dodged by jumping into the air and used his ice as a foothold to get close to the monster and slashed one of its tails off, which weakened it. Jun-ho taunted the monster as it was its first time being in pain. And it never imagined being the prey as it already killed many players. The fox attacked with a claw, and Jun-ho countered by attacking one of its eyes as it was preparing for another giant fireball. Jun-ho pierced it with a huge ice spike, killing it instantly. Jun-ho collapsed after the fight. A message showed that the Cinder Fox has been defeated and he received the Cinder Fox's core as a reward. Outside the gate, everyone was excited to see them come out. Sin-woo was carrying Jun-ho on his back. The press thought Sin-woo and his team was the one who finished the gate. But he told them the truth about what happened inside the gate. At the hospital, Jun-ho awoke with Cha Si-yoon beside him. She told him while he was out they received a lot of requests. Jun-ho was not surprised and went out of the room to see President Choi Pil-ho. Si-yoon tried to stop him because he hasn't recovered yet. Jun-ho told her that he just fainted and will rest after they see the real patient. Choi Pil-ho was grateful to Jun-ho for coming, but was worried because he heard he fainted inside the dungeon. Jun-ho replied he just took a nap. Pil-ho shook him to his daughter's room to start the treatment. After seeing her, Jun-ho saw that the girl's condition wasn't good and he has to hurry. He took out the core, but he forgot that the power of the core is dangerous to normal people and sent the father out of the room. The father was worried seeing the power of the core and asked if it was really alright to use it on his daughter. Jun-ho assured him that he knew the method Spectre used the last time. Before the father left, he held Jun-ho's hand and said to take care of his daughter. Jun started and found that she was worse than the one he cured last time and tried to use the core carefully. Suddenly a message appeared that he can absorb the yin energy using the frost skill and upon absorbing his magic stat will increase. Jun-ho was surprised. He realized that the frost skill has no weakness, attack, or defense and now it can absorb energy. He wondered if his skill Watchguard of Darkness can do the same. He planned to test it out later. He absorbed the yin energy from the girl and he remembered the previous incident where the patient was under a heavy burden after using the core. But with the frost skill, it was much safer. After a while, Jun-ho came out exhausted and told her father that she will recover with no side effects. The father thanked him and planned to increase the payment, but he knew Jun-ho would decline, so he told him that if he needed any help in the future, the Myungo Group will assist him with anything. The Myungo Group is the #1 company in Korea, and their real weapon was Choi Pil-ho's eldest son, was the guild master of the Scarlet Tower, which ranked 5th in the country. Jun-ho thanked him and that he will not harm the Myungo Group's reputation. On their way back, Jun-ho thanked Cha Si-yoon for a great job. In Doop-gu's office, Jun-ho showed Doop-gu the Cinder Fox core and told him that he didn't have to use it on the president's daughter because he used his frost skill to absorb the yin energy. Doop-gu was surprised. Jun-ho continued that he can absorb any yin energy from any target and asked Doop-gu to help him find artifacts that have yin energy for him. Junho also decided to visit the black market to look for artifacts. Outside, Junho saw how lively the market was and remembered how desperate everyone was. He was glad that everything was peaceful. He went inside a theater and used secret teleportation on the seat, which brings him to the black market. He remembered one of his teammates, Skaya. He arrived at the black market. Some people recognized him and tried to intimidate him. He told them to move, but they got scared and went away. Junho was surprised it was that easy. Inside a shop, the attendant recognized him and pointed him to the shelves of artifacts. Junho saw some items with low-level energy from the artifacts and asked the attendant to show him the other room which kept the best items. The attendant was angry about how he knew about it and showed him inside the room. He saw an item that has a frost attribute. The attendant warned him not to touch it because it is cursed and causes the player's body to freeze. Junho put it on and saw its stat. Frost Fairy Wrath, rare grade cursed, which increases speed, stamina, and magic. He saw it has an intermediate level of frost energy. Junho was happy that he can get the same amount of magic as last time. He bought the items and left. He went inside a bar to use their teleport service to go back to Korea. But he will have to wait 10 minutes to use the teleportation. 3 players approached him and tried to intimidate and use him to increase their fame. Junho just laughed and told them they are leeches and they bully weaker players to put their names on the papers. Junho invited them to attack him. The other people in the bar were curious and recognized Junho. They were disgusted by how the 3 were ganging up on one person. The gang didn't care, they wanted fame from defeating a famous hero, Seo Junho. Junho took out his knife and asked the bartender how much more time till the teleportation. Bartender answered 4 minutes. Junho stepped closer to the gang and said it was more than enough to play. The gang mocked him for using a knife, but Junho answered it was enough to smash bugs and doesn't need his sword. One of the gang members got angry and attacked. Junho dodged the spear and then delivered an elbow to the guy's face, knocking him out. The people inside were surprised. The other member attacked with magic. Junho dashed to the other guy with a sword. The magic user thought Junho was a newbie who hasn't killed anybody and lacked experience. He cheered on his buddy. Junho broke the guy's arm without any emotion. The magic user was confused and scared. He attacked again with his magic. We saw one of Junho's abilities which allows him to read the enemy's breath. Junho parried the attacks and nailed the guy's hand to the wall. Junho told them that he doesn't want to see them again, and the big guy agreed. Junho left for the teleportation while the people inside were cheering for him. He found it weird that they were acting like players in a game. After coming out, he thought of his friends and missed them. Meanwhile, inside a car, some people were watching Junho's fight in the black market. The one called Princess was interested in him. On the street, Junho was annoyed with the fans taking pictures with him. But someone approached and Junho recognized her as Dakibi's Princess Gongjuha. Junho knew was being scouted by the big guilds. He was also relieved to get away from the people. Inside a cafe, Gongjuha was complaining about how hot it was. Junho was confused because she has fire abilities. She reasoned the problem was she liked cold things. Junho wondered if she was really the Dakibi princess. She asked him if he wants to join their guild and told him the vice master asked her to scout him and he passed in terms of combat and future potential. Junho asked her if she has already seen what happened in the black market. She told him he is good at fighting and asked him if his skill really only at D rank weapon proficiency. Junho confirmed. This makes her want him more, as he is already this strong with only one skill. She showed all the incentives he will get once he joined them. Junho was amazed and thought this was the reason all the player left the association and went with the big guilds. Gongjuha continued that they are the strongest guild in the world and they have the most information about the second floor. She thought there was no way he will refuse. But Junho declined as she was talking. She was surprised and asked his reason. Junho stated that doesn't want to be chained to the guild's order and carry out all their missions. She understood and warned him. He asked her jokingly if she will take revenge on him. But she clarified it was because the fiends were a lot more active lately, even on the first floor. Junho thanked her as she left. In the office, Junho relayed to Duke Gu what Gongju had told him. Duke Gu asked him if won't regret not joining them as they will be more helpful to him. Junho reasoned that the guilds are too strict. And he doesn't want that. Duke Gu was touched and gave him a whole floor to stay in. Junho also asked him to set the Eastern Gate conquest a week from now. He plans to set the bait for the fiends to come. The news of Jun-ho declining to Kibi Guild and raiding the Eastern Sea Gate has spread. Cal Siner watched and he ordered his minion to send someone to get the Tempest Bow from Jun-ho. Cal Siner suddenly felt he was being watched and attacked. The reason he can't get the Tempest himself was because of the Sword Saint. Jun-ho wondered if the fiends took the bait and were suspicious of the Shadow Brothers who were joining him as medics. He asks Cha Si-yoon for information about the two. He used his darkness skill and found that he could spread it around the area to train his magic. And he knew that he couldn't avoid using his darkness skills while inside the Eastern Gate. He reviewed the gate's information called the Eastern Gate Island of the Forgotten Dragon. The clear condition is to rout the Nameless Dragon. He thought it will be hard to fight dragons because he doesn't have any flying skills. He received the information about the Shadow Brothers that Cha Si-yoon sent. And found that the brothers Vincent and Edver from America are a veteran of 200 successful missions and both use shadow skills. They later said in their interview that they admired Jun-ho and wanted to help him clear the last uncleared dungeon in Korea. On the day of the raid, a lot of people were gathered outside the gate. Inside the car, Duke Gu was scolding Jun-ho for not focusing on the mission. Jun-ho assured him that he already defeated the Ice Queen and won't be easily killed by a nameless dragon. Duke Gu was worried that the Shadow Brothers, which might be working with the fiends, will be going with him, that he thought about calling off the raid. Jun-ho comforted him that if they attack him he has a plan. The two brothers greeted and praised him and were surprised when he replied in English. They thought they would have communication issues. When they were entering the gates, one of the brothers tried to attack Jun-ho while the gate was opening. He hesitated when he felt Jun-ho's aura and stopped. The brothers whispered that they need to find another chance to attack him. While they were looking for the dragon, Jun-ho was cautious. Suddenly a huge shadow covered them. It was the Forgotten Dragon boss. They noticed that Jun-ho was already gone. The dragon attacked the two while Jun-ho was watching them from his hiding spot. Vincent asked Edver to find Jun-ho while he distracts the boss. Edver dashed to the jungle to find Jun-ho. He noticed a shadow thinking it was Jun-ho and told him that they needed their help. Then he suddenly attacked but the shadow dispersed. Edver felt an ominous feeling seeing the darkness cover him. Jun-ho appeared behind him and told him he was a fiend. Edver denied it and told him to not make any accusations. Jun-ho told him to hide his scarlet eyes. Demon clans rarely appear inside the gates. If you killed and drink their blood in exchange, you'll numb your emotions and give you a violent nature. And the ability to use Magi. Edver attacked Jun-ho with his shadows intending to attack his legs. Jun-ho used his night walking skill and disappeared. Edver was terrified while being surrounded by Jun-ho's darkness. Vincent was having a hard time dealing with the dragon. As Edver runs out of the jungle, saying Jun-ho has hidden his strength. Vincent scolds him for falling for Jun-ho's bluffs. They plan on how to attack the dragon's weakness, the reverse scale. The dragon attacked, killing Vincent's summons and damaging Vincent in the process. Edver used his movement skill to get on the dragon and find a reverse scale. When he found it he pulled it off and hesitated. Jun-ho was watching them and thought they were idiots for attacking the dragon's reverse scale, which will cause it to be enraged. Edver jumped off the dragon full of injuries from the lightning. The dragon continued its attack while the brothers dodged. Jun-ho wants the brothers to buy him some time. He took out the Tempest Bow and sniped the dragon, stopping its attack. The brothers knew Jun-ho can't defeat the dragon alone. The brothers planned to transfer the dragon's aggro to Jun-ho by letting him attack, but they failed. Jun-ho created arrows from darkness and fired them into the sky. The arrows rained on the dragon's back, causing it to fall to the ground and be unable to move. The Shadow Brothers were surprised, and Jun-ho showed them the Tempest Bow. The two pleaded with him saying they were just small fries. Jun-ho told them to fuck off. One of the brothers attacked, but Jun-ho chopped his head off. The second followed. Jun-ho parried and stabbed him while saying they should repent in their next life. Jun-ho walked to the nameless dragon and delivered the finishing blow. Jun-ho received 20 kilograms of dragon bones as a reward and a few levels, and he decided to check later. And went to the bodies of the two fiends. He used the confessions of the skill, allowing him to read the memories of the dead. Jun-ho saw the crimes committed by the fiend and stopped as he thought he killed them too quickly. He searched for information about the Fiends Association and saw where they received their orders. He also saw the man who gave the brothers their power. The skill stopped as his skill is too low to recall the complete memory. Next, he used the skill to read the dragon's memory. He found out that the dragon was previously a human emperor. Jun-ho felt guilty after killing his ancestor and paid his respects. The dragon's soul ascended and thanked him, which resulted in him clearing a hidden mission. He received the Flute of Tidal Breath and the title Helper of Ascension. Jun-ho was surprised after seeing that he finished a hidden quest that gave him level and a unique grade item, Flute of the Tidal Breath, but there is a usage limit. The item will break after 3 uses. Jun-ho felt fortunate after seeing what he got from the raid. After coming out of the gate, there was a press conference. The media was talking about how dangerous the gates were and that even the Shadow Brothers died. Jun-ho fake cried and said that it was his fault that the brothers died and he would not forget their sacrifice. Cal Siner was angry as he was watching and thought Jun-ho was lucky. They planned to send the Watchdogs to the Las Vegas auction. At the office, Jun-ho was overwhelmed by the number of commission requests he received. He was confused as he said in the conference that the Shadow Brothers did most of the work to clear the gate. Cha Si-yoon told him that luck is also a skill and he should get a haircut. Jun-ho told her that she can leave early and she was happy and left immediately while reminding him to get his haircut. Outside, Jun-ho was walking and remembered that when he was wearing his mask, everything was much more simple. He decided to a comic library and saw there were no people and removed his mask and if they were going bankrupt. He planned to sit at his usual spot and order ramen, but then saw a girl sitting there and was surprised to see it was Cha Si-yoon. They were both shocked to see each other. Si-yoon was looking at him and said that there is nothing wrong with an adult reading what she wants. Jun-ho joked about the title of what she was reading and she got angry and asked him about his book. Jun-ho thought it was no better than her. They both compared what they were reading and Cha Si-yoon said it was no different from her book. After a while, they were both satisfied after finishing their books. Jun-ho told her he was a bit surprised to see her there and thought she was one of the elites and wouldn't go in a Manhwa bang. She replied she liked it here and that no one would bother her and she liked the smell of old books. Jun-ho agreed. They bid their farewell and Jun-ho thought Cha Si-yoon works hard and he should do the same. Jun-ho told Duk-gu that he would go to the States and find the Fiend's meeting place. Jun-ho gave him the dragon bones and asked him to give the rest to Kwon Noya to make him a sword. Jun-ho was laying on his bed and asked Si-yoon to get him a plane ticket to Las Vegas and looked at his items and stat. And thought it won't be long until he could use sword aura and hunt on the 2nd and 3rd floors. He wondered how strong the top players were after 25 years. Jun-ho arrived and complained about how tiring the plane ride was. He missed Skaya when they could just teleport on their way. He looked up the Fiend's meeting place and decided to finish it quickly to get some rest. At the meeting place, 2 fiends were talking about how scary the Watchdogs were and how they killed his boss just because they wanted to. The 3 Watchdogs arrived and asked for their orders. They saw that their mission changed and was upset that they were not going to the 2nd floor. The leader looked at the order and then burned it. After confirming there were no other orders, they left. The 2 fiends were relieved. The other fiend thought the leader looked like a decent person. The other scolded him and said that the leader, named Arma, was a student of Nazid Hallow, one of the strongest players in the world. The strongest players were called the 9 Heavens. The fiend was scared and knew skeleton mage Arma was the one who caused the massacre in Turkey. Originally Watchdogs have 5 members, but Arma didn't like the other 2 and burned them. Jun-ho arrived and killed the 2 fiends and was upset they didn't know much and only delivered orders. He thought that the Watchdogs would be different. He called Duk-gu and asked if he could help him get a ticket to participate in the Las Vegas auction. Jun-ho went to the place where the auction will be held to familiarize himself. Duk-gu sent him an expensive suit to wear for the auction, so Jun-ho wouldn't affect his image if he looked bad. Jun-ho tried to enter the casino but was blocked. One of the guards recognized him and introduced himself as Ha In-ho, the one with Gong Joo-ha when they tried to scout. Jun-ho remembered they were a funny pair. In-ho asked him what is he doing in Las Vegas. Jun-ho told him he was participating in the artifact auction. In-ho said they were hired by the hosts as security guards and were just patrolling. In-ho explained why the alarm went off when Jun-ho tried to enter. It was because players aren't allowed on the normal casino as players would use their abilities and casinos lost a lot of money, so they made a casino just for players where the dealers are also players. Jun-ho asked if wouldn't it be advantageous for higher level players. In-ho answered players' level doesn't determine their game skills. As they saw Gong Joo-ha losing at a table. Jun-ho understood that she wasn't the type to calculate probabilities or fight mental battles and that this game is more advantageous for players who have good visual skills. Jun-ho sat beside Gong Joo-ha and asked if it was fun. She was surprised to see him and joked if he had changed his mind and wanted to be her underling. Jun-ho told her he was participating in the auction and just wanted to look around. Gong-ju had told him that she was the captain of security at the hotel and to let her know if anything happens. Jun-ho wondered if she was allowed to gamble while working. She explained that all of the dealers are qualified to enter the second floor and their identities are hidden. Jun-ho went all in and persuaded him not to as he needs to get used to the dealer's speed. Jun-ho asked her why she kept losing after getting used to it. Emotional damage. The dealer shuffled the 3 cups while Jun-ho watched. Juha was sure as she picked the left cup and thought if she will bet again. Jun-ho stopped her and thought she has no talent in this. Jun-ho picked the middle and he was right. Juha thought it was beginner's luck. 2 players approached the table and Jun-ho recognized them as members of the Watchdogs. Jun-ho smiled as he didn't have to find them. He decided to play more to find a chance to deal with the fiends. Since the number of players increased, the dealer also increased the number of cups to 5. The dealer shuffled and asked them to choose. The fiend girl chose the middle Jun-ho and the guy fiend chose the same cup and they were correct. Jun-ho knew that the guy would be more trouble than the girl. Juha was impressed and asked how he was so good. Jun-ho remembered Gilbert teaching him. The next round the guy fiend and Jun-ho chose the same cup again and won. Dealer went to substitute and Jun-ho showed Juha an artifact that looks like a compass and said that President Dukgu lent it to him and it will help him find a particular kind of people if he used mana on it. Juha was curious. Jun-ho used it and it pointed toward the Watchdogs. Jun-ho acted confused and excused himself to go to the bathroom. The guy fiend also stood up to follow him. Jun-ho lured him into an alley. The fiend thought that the artifact allowed Jun-ho to find fiends and Jun-ho ran once he found out what they were. Jun-ho threw the artifact and it broke. The fiend was confused and understood it wasn't a real artifact. He asked Jun-ho if he lured him here and how much Jun-ho knew about them. Jun-ho told him about their schedule tomorrow. The fiend attacked. Jun-ho was surprised at his speed and wondered if he is an accelerator user. The fiend was confident and told Jun-ho that he can't dodge the next attack. Jun-ho baited him to attack by closing his eyes. After the attack missed, the fiend's arm was already frozen. Jun-ho mocked him that speed is useless if he was predictable. The fiend attacked again and Jun-ho froze his other arm and gave the finishing blow. The 2 remaining watchdogs knew that one of them got taken out. The leader showed the girl the list of players currently in Las Vegas and asked her to look. She pointed out Jun-ho from the list. Arma was confused at how his subordinate lost to Jun-ho as he was a newbie. He saw that he was also involved with the Shadow Brothers and there was a possibility that Jun-ho came to the. Arma designated Jun-ho as a threat and to find a way to kill him. On the day of the auction, Jun-ho arrived and saw Juha buying iced tea. He greeted her. And she joked about him leaving for the bathroom and never went back. She was angry at him for showing her an artifact and then leave and she lost sleep thinking about the artifact. He apologized and she asked him to treat her somewhere expensive. They bid their goodbyes. Jun-ho continued to the auction. Juha entered the auction and was amazed and saw a lot of famous people. She was nervous but thought he could help right away if he was closer to the stage. She found her seat and sat down but was surprised to see Jun-ho and told him that the seats are reserved and he can't seat wherever he wants. Jun-ho showed her his invitation. She was surprised as it was a VIP ticket and thought Jun-ho spent all his money buying his suit and asked how he got the ticket. Jun-ho told her Dukgu got it for him. She told him that you can't get the ticket unless you're a powerful people in the country and thought he was the president's proxy. Jun-ho understood why Dukgu sent him the expensive suit and planned to interrogate him after he comes back. Juha asked him what does he want from the auction. He was unsure. She boasted that she was a pro and job comes first. He was relieved that Juha was present. He planned to go after the fiends alone until he saw the fiend's memory as he can't fight Arma alone with his present power. When the fight starts he would need Takibi's help. He thought if the rumors of Juha were true, he could get Heaven's Breath and protect everyone in the auction. The auction started and Juha was buying all cold attribute items. Jun-ho reminded her that she was a professional and has to do her job. She replied something about multitasking lol. Juha asked him why he isn't buying anything. Jun-ho only bought 1 necklace. Juha was curious why he bought it and asked if it was for his girlfriend of mom. Jun-ho told her that her mom is dead and she felt bad. The next item came up called the unknown ball. Jun-ho's skill keen intuition reacted and he got curious. Other people are shown talking that after 20 years no one found out what it was, and seeing it was being auctioned again they knew they gave up. Jun-ho didn't know why his keen intuition reacted to it, but he decided to buy it. The next item came, the Heavens Breathe. Jun-ho was curious how much will it cost. Ju-ha said it will depend on how much the country leaders called. As the bidding went up, the attack happened as Jun-ho expected. One of the bodyguards created a shield and protected everyone from the falling debris. Jun-ho was impressed as he did in an instant. Ju-ha was thinking about who among the fiends would do something crazy and summoned the skeletons. Jun-ho offered a clue, and Ju-ha agreed. Ju-ha took command and gave orders to evacuate the audience and protect the auction items. As she was trying to order Jun-ho, she saw he was already gone. The people inside are panicking as they saw the shield about to break from the attacks and tried to squeeze on the small doors, so Ju-ha punched a big hole in the wall to use as an exit. As she was talking with Inho, a hole appeared and a bullet came out hitting Inho, which caused the shield to break. As she saw the skeletons coming in, Ju-ha attacked, destroying the skeletons and damaging the building. The girl member of the Watchdogs watched in amazement and wondered if she was human and thought she is truly one of the strongest special attribute users. Ruler of Flames ranked S and doesn't want to fight her head on. She saw the Heavens Breathe and used her skill to teleport the item from a distance to her location. As Arma called if she got the item, Arma told her to proceed to point B right away. She was disappointed that she couldn't kill Jun-ho, but she suddenly saw Jun-ho running from afar. She was excited and took aim at him and planned to take him out quickly. She used her skill to teleport the bullet close to Jun-ho's head, but he dodged it easily. She couldn't believe it missed and took another shot. Jun-ho saw the portals and used his skill Shadow Step and disappeared. She was surprised and thought that even a ranker like Ha In-ho couldn't dodge her attack. She then noticed where he was headed, but it was too late. Jun-ho appeared behind her and froze her body. She was terrified and asked who he was. Jun-ho answered that it doesn't matter as the Watchdogs will disappear tonight. At the auction, Ju-ha was still fighting and planned to take a vacation to Antarctica after she's done. One of the bodyguards told her that Heaven's Breath was missing. She was confused about how it was stolen. The skeleton kept coming, and Ju-ha was confused about how his members were being overwhelmed. One of the guards noticed that the armors the skeleton was wearing were the same as the people who went missing 3 years ago. She remembered the disappearance case on the second floor. Even their fighting style was the same. They understood it was the same missing players. Jun-ho read the Watchdogs' memory and saw their plans and where they would meet up after the mission. She doesn't have much information about the Fiend Association and wonders if the leader Arma shares information with them. According to the Watchdogs' memory, the skeletons attacking the auction house were sacrificed by Nazid Hallow, and his student Arma was the one controlling them. He was thinking of how he could get to Arma as charging recklessly to the hideout with traps set up as suicide. He saw the Fiend's watch and thought of a plan. Arma received a message that his subordinate was being followed. He asked about the item, and the subordinate confirmed and will hide the item in an alley and leave their mark as she was still being followed. Arma was curious about who was following them. He went to the location mentioned and sensed the item in a trash can. As he picked up Heaven's Breath, he wondered if magic cores were always that cold. It suddenly exploded and froze his arm. He calmed himself and knew he had fallen for a trap and knows the one that set it up is close. He summoned his skeletons around him and planned to take down the enemy. Jun-ho appeared behind him while saying he was defenseless while casting. Before he could attack, Jun-ho stabbed him. Arma wondered if Jun-ho was waiting for him to cast from the start. Arma asked for his name. Jun-ho asked him back if he answered the questions of all the people he killed. Arma had no answer as Jun-ho gave the finishing blow. The skeletons at the auction disappeared on Arma's death. Ju-ha wondered if the mage called them back or if he was killed. Jun-ho gained levels after killing Arma. He could not have killed him if he didn't fall for the trap, and he would be the one in trouble. Jun-ho used his skills and read Arma's memory. He saw how the fiends recruited Arma and how he became the leader of Watchdogs. The ultimate goal of the fiends is to dominate the tower. The vision stopped as his skill is too low to recall the memories completely. Jun-ho was angered as he saw they turned orphans into fiends as they were treated like items and discarded if they can't keep up with the training. He decided to stop them before they make more fiends like Arma. He wondered if the man he saw in the memories was Nazid Hallow. Back in the auction hall, Ju-ha was upset as they still could not find Heaven's Breath. She got angry that if it wasn't for the fiends she should have been sleeping. A guard told her that someone left a gift for her. It was from a fan. The guard told her that what was inside may shock her. When she opened it and saw what was inside, she thought it was a great replica. The guard confirmed it was the original. She shouted in surprise and asked didn't the skeleton mage took it. In the gift, a note was written saying the skeleton mage and 2 fiends has been dealt with. Retrieved Heaven's Breath. And told them the location of the skeleton mage's corpse. Signed by Fan. She was curious who it was and told the guard that she wants to meet him. But the guard answered that they couldn't find any clues from the area where they found the corpse and thought he might be a pro or at least a ranker. They saw Jun-ho coming in. She scolded him for leaving during an emergency and running away like last time at the casino. She said that Spectre once said that players' power exists to protect the people. Ijin asked if he said that. Ju had told him it was Spectre, not him. He cringed that he said something corny. She showed the letter to him and boasted that she has a fan that caught the skeleton mage and sent her Heaven's Breath. Her guards said that it was at least a ranker. She was really curious about who it was. Jun-ho doubted if it was really a ranker. Juha insisted and that they investigated the area and there was no trace on the corpse or the alleyway. Jun-ho smiled secretly hearing this. He used the skill Skya taught him and it was very useful. Juha also noticed how the letter was written and it looked natural and thought the fan must be a fluent English speaker. Jun-ho told her that if the fan wanted to reveal their identity they'll do it themselves. Juha agreed and asked him why is he there as the auction has ended. Jun-ho told her that he was just there to pick up the items he bid on. She pointed to a counter and told him that they distribute the items there. They said their goodbyes and said the next time they meet would likely be on the 2nd floor. She told him if he climbed the 2nd floor within half a year she will give him a present. If he can't do it then he will have to grant her wish. He knew she would make him join their guild. They shook hands and it was a deal. He got the 2 items he bought, the unknown ball and the stamina regeneration necklace. He was still curious why his keen intuition skill reacts to the ball. He used magic on it, but nothing happened. He kept it in his inventory and used magic on it from time to time. On the 2nd floor frontier area housing we see someone picking up the necklace Jun-ho bought. The man saw a note inside saying he will come up after half a year from uncle. The man understood. He arrived in Korea and was picked up by Cha Si-yoon. Jun-ho was thankful that she came to pick him up. She told him that it was part of her job and asked him if they were going straight to the association. He remembered something and gave her a present. Jun-ho said that he didn't know what to buy, so he just looked for a book and wasn't sure if she will like it and that it was the only one left. She was happy and said she looked everywhere for a copy, but it was already sold out. Jun-ho told her to wake him up when they arrive at the association. In the president's office, Jun-ho told Duke-gu that he contacted Arthur and told him he will be coming up soon. Duke-gu said that the kid went through a lot since what happened 25 years ago and is doing well. He haven't seen him since he went up to the 2nd floor frontier. Arthur said that he doesn't want to go down because Earth reminds him of his father. Jun-ho asked Duke-gu to help him find an orphanage and explained to him what he found out. Duke-gu was angered and drank the alcohol Jun-ho brought him. He calmed down and told him Kwon Noya was looking for him. He said that the sword that he requested will be finished tomorrow and wanted to give it to him in person. Duke-gu assured that with Jun-ho's current career, there will be no suspicion even if they meet. Jun-ho agreed. Duke-gu told him to go tomorrow, seeing him excited. Jun-ho decided to take a rest. Jun-ho arrived at Kwon Noya's shop and thought it was the same as it was 25 years ago. He entered and saw Kwon Noya's grandson on the forge and couldn't believe it was the same crybaby back then. He leads Jun-ho to his grandfather. Noya chided him as it was hard to see him around. Jun-ho smiled and said it's been a while. The grandson was confused knowing that this was their first meeting. Noya asked his grandson to serve agara tea for Jun-ho. Jun-ho praised the grandson's skill, but Noya said he still has a lot to learn. Jun-ho joked that why has he not welcomed him back. Noya patted him on the shoulder and said he had already gone through a lot. Noya asked him why he came back as a player. Jun-ho showed him the frost power he acquired, and Noya knew it was the Frost Queen's skill. He explained that he can save his teammates with it. Jun-ho reminded Noya that they made a contract together a long time ago, and Noya said with a serious hiss that his contract was with Spectre, not with a newbie named Seo Jun-ho. Jun-ho was stupefied. Noya laughed as he was just joking with him and wanted to see his stupid face since it's been a while. Jun-ho thought Noya called him there to make fun of him. Noya showed him the sword he made. Noya says he wields the hammer for him and Jun-ho wields the sword for Noya. That was their promise. Jun-ho joked if he really said. Jun-ho held the sword and thought it was perfect. Noya explained that he mixed new materials and the durability is better. Jun-ho checked the sword's stat and saw it was called the Black Dragon Fang, a unique great item. He compared it with the swords that he used from the association's storage and found it was on a different level. Jun-ho complimented Noya saying he was skilled as ever. Noya said he has gotten even better after 25 years and invited him to play Go. Jun-ho was surprised as Noya had never beaten him before in Go. Noya shouted saying that he was far better now. The tea arrived and Jun-ho was surprised as he hasn't tasted this kind of tea before and asked Noya what is it. Noya offered to tell him if he beats him at Go. Jun-ho smiled and agreed. After a while, Noya was fuming after losing to Jun-ho. Jun-ho calmed him down and reminded him about the tea. Noya explained about the second race. They are monsters that resembled humans, like orcs and elves. He said that they have changed since the second floor opened and that they are intelligent enough to communicate with humans. Jun-ho asked if even orcs can communicate with them. Noya confirmed, but not all second races can do it. Jun-ho asked why he brought them up. Noya said that the agar tea came from the elves. Jun-ho thought if he can get to the second floor then he can get some of the tea. Noya scoffed because unless he finds intelligent elves and make a connection with them, he can't get it for even 1,000,000,000 gold. Jun-ho asked Noya if knows something about the unknown ball he got from the auction. Noya scolded him that he is not a sage and doesn't know everything. But he knew it was an elven item and was sure because he met an elder of an elf tribe before and felt the same energy from the ball. Noya suggested he go someplace where he can meet elves. Jun-ho bid his farewell. The grandson gave him some agarit as Noya told him and said his grandfather must really like him. In the car, Si-yoon informed him about a gate in England where dark elves appear. The gate is called Wild Forest and asked if he was interested. Jun-ho said yes. Si-yoon also informed him that Cheonghae Guild will also participate. He remembered that they were the guild that was with him when he fought the Cinder Fox. She continued that even players all over the world are gathering. Jun-ho asked for the info on the dungeon. The gate is located in Grantham, England, and the goal is to kill the Dark Elves tribe leader. Only 20 to 30 players can participate and a party of cap of 200 people. Cal Signer was furious after finding out that the Watchdogs have been annihilated. The minion thinks that we're caught in a trap while trying to take care of Seo Jun-ho. As they were talking, Nazid Hallow arrived and asked him if Seo Jun-ho killed his disciple. Cal Signer's answer was unsure. Nazid Hallow slammed him on the wall as he didn't like his answer. Cal Signer begged for a chance and he will bring Jun-ho to him. Nazid Hallow released him and give him half a year to bring Jun-ho to him. Cal Signer reasoned that he can't bring Jun-ho to the second floor as Jun-ho needed to be at least level 30 and there was no way Jun-ho can do it in 6 months. Nazid Hallow warned him that his life was on the line and to make it happen as he disappeared. Cal Signer asked his minion to look for a pathfinder. A pathfinder allows him to go down the dimensional elevator while evading the association. Cal Signer decided to go to the first floor himself. Meanwhile, Jun-ho arrived early in England and plans to clear smaller gates as a warm-up. Jun-ho thought that if 200 players can enter the dungeon will be extremely difficult and knew he can't protect all 200 people. At the day of the raid, strong players gathered near the gate. Cha Min-woo was shown looking for someone. One of his teammates teased him if he was looking for Jun-ho. He remembered how Jun-ho fought the Cinder Fox and admired him. He was excited to show him how he has changed. They noticed Jun-ho and approached him. Jun-ho thanked Min-woo for carrying him out of the gate after fighting the Cinder Fox. Min-woo asked him if he would like to join their party. Jun-ho agreed as it would be inefficient to go alone. After they went in, Jun-ho was confused after seeing the other guilds going off on their own. Min-woo explained that they use terminals these days to communicate after entering the gate. Jun-ho was clueless. One of the members teased him about being a time traveler from the past. Min-woo introduced the other members to Jun-ho. Choi Jin-pyo was the healer. The girl that teased him was Seo Miri. Her skill lets her see the close future of whatever she looks at, but it has a long cooldown. She also needs to tell the target what she saw. There will be a penalty if she doesn't. Jun-ho thought that she'd tell him about his friends. Miri clarified that her skill is only a sneak peek and she can't see far into the future. It isn't always accurate as the future is ever changing. They can use her skill to see if any danger lies ahead. Min-woo has a physical reinforcement skill. 5 hours later, Min-woo showed him the other team's location as they communicated that they haven't seen any dark elves yet. Miri thought the reason they haven't found any dark elves is that the dark elves' numbers are low. Jun-ho thinks there is something wrong and that there was no way the enemy's numbers are low as the party cap is too high. And was suspicious as to how they haven't found any dark elves. Jun-ho explained that dark elves are prideful beings that they wouldn't stand by when there are intruders. Jun-ho asked Miri to tell him around what time they were fighting when she saw his future. She estimated it was at night. Jun-ho thought for a while, then took out a sleeping bag. He said the dark elves will probably make a surprise attack at night. Miri said she would notify the other guilds. Jun-ho said they might not believe it. Jun-ho said he will take a nap first and then they will take turns resting. Night came, then we see two players on watch talking in front of a bonfire. The other player said what if the dark elves really made a surprise attack? The other player was doubtful and said it was nonsense. He mocked the dark elves' intelligence and how they couldn't resist a temptation of power and that they were incapable of organized attacks. They noticed multiple eyes in the darkness and were relieved when they see it was just Watchdogs, thinking they were afraid of the fire. The player who mocked the elves then saw figures in the trees and told the other player to wake the team up as they were surrounded by the dark elves. Jun-ho suddenly woke up feeling that something was wrong. Miri told him nothing has happened yet and he could go back to sleep. He asked about the other parties and she said Night Watch is posting updates every 30 minutes. Miri was confused as to why no one has posted and thought there might be a problem with the communication. Jun-ho knew they have been attacked as he saw with his hunter's night skill the dark elves surrounding them. Jun-ho smiled as he was excited seeing the dark elves making coordinated attacks with trained Watchdogs. Jun-ho ordered Miri to wake Min-woo. She wondered why as she doesn't see anything. As she was talking, a Watchdog attacked her from behind Jun-ho and killed the monster as the dark elf riding the Watchdog fell into the bonfire. Jun-ho thought he shouldn't use the sword given to him by Noya to face these small fries. Jun-ho killed the attacking elves. He noticed one elf attacking him but let it stab him in the back. Jun-ho was satisfied with the armor Quan Palmo, Noya's grandson, gave him as the attack didn't hurt him. Duke-gu asked Palmo to make Jun-ho armor from the dragon bones Jun-ho gave him. Jun-ho was grateful to him. Jun-ho intended to let one elf run to the forest so he can use the confessions of the dead and read its memory without his party seeing him. One of the elves attacked and Jun-ho killed him instantly and told the other elf to run. After seeing the elves' memories, he comprehended that the dark elves ate the branches of the world tree and gained power in exchange for their intelligence, but the leader's intelligence wasn't affected and saw they have 1,000 dark elves and the dark elven knights the leader's bodyguards. Jun-ho came back to the party and made an excuse that he chased one elf. Jun-ho asked how are the other parties. Miri said that they can't reach anyone and probably they are in the middle of a battle or maybe wiped out. Jun-ho said they need to save them. Meanwhile, the other parties are overwhelmed by the attacks. As one player asks for help as he sees the elves attack to finish him, Jun-ho arrives and killed the elf and the Watchdog. The party leader thanked Jun-ho, saying he was the savior of the Blue Whale party. Jun-ho asked how many casualties. The leader said they lost 5 people and blamed himself for what happened. Jun-ho asked the Blue Whale party to head north, saying they can fight together and minimize their casualties. Jun-ho estimated that there are at least 500 dark elves remaining and they had a chance at winning if they survived the night. Jun-ho told them to go north and gather the others, then come to the east after cleaning up. The leader has lost morale after what happened. Jun-ho told them they have to keep fighting and carry out revenge for their comrade. The leader thanked him and decided to follow Korea's new star. In the next scene, we see a player making his last stand and surrounded by Watchdogs. He accepted his death but was surprised to see the attacking Watchdogs get killed. He saw a man and wonders who it was. The player was thankful and if it wasn't for Jun-ho they would have been annihilated. They survived the night and Jun-ho estimated that the elves lost half their forces and probably won't attack them anymore. Jun-ho thought they should be on the offensive. He saw 2 players arguing about whether they had to clear the gate as fast as possible and send the critical players to a hospital with high-level healers. The other players reason that it isn't fair for everyone to sacrifice themselves for one person, as they aren't prepared to fight. Jun-ho sighed seeing this. Min-woo asked him what he thinks. Jun-ho explained that both options have pros and cons, but thinks the best option is to clear the gate as soon as possible, and the reason they are clearing it quickly is that they would be at a disadvantage the longer it takes. A player asked why. Jun-ho answered that the dark elves aren't normal, probably a much more powerful being commanding them. A player asked if they assume that 500 dark elves left, what about the Watchdogs? Jun-ho assured them that there aren't any more of them as they saw the size of the Watchdogs chasing the last player they rescued and understood that they were pups. Dark elves used the pups as they lost all of their adult Watchdogs and they won't be able to attack them at night anymore. Jun-ho continued that the dark elves may attack their camp with poison arrows until they are tired and then finish them. Everyone agreed. Jun-ho approached Miri to look into his future. She saw where the dark elves' hideout is located and also saw a dark elf with an ominous aura and 5 dark elves with better armor surrounding it. Jun-ho thought they might be the tribe chief and the dark elven knights. He was a bit disappointed as he already knew most of the information. Miri asked that he was holding something made of ice and asked if it was an artifact. Jun-ho was surprised and asked her to go back to camp first. He thought the tribe chief was strong enough for him to use the frost skill and was worried. The team found the dark elves' lairs and that elves were guarding the entrance and also found the tribe chief and the dark elven knights. The tribe chief on the throne and the dark elves around him are in a formation. Jun-ho stretched and asked if everyone is ready. All 147 players are ready. They arrived at the dark elves' lair and noticed that there is only one entrance. Jun-ho said the chief was smart and if there was only one passageway meant that if they can't kill all the elves inside, they won't reach the tribe chief. They went inside and found the dark elves gathering in a large chamber and saw the tribe chief sitting on the throne. Everyone was nervous. Jun-ho raised morale by saying the chief might give some elixirs that can save someone on death's door and the distribution will be based on contribution. Everyone cheered and charged to the dark elves. Players and dark elves clashed as Jun-ho swept the enemy. The other players were astonished and had a hard time following him. Minwoo tried to follow Jun-ho but was overwhelmed. Jun-ho told him to fall back and that it will be dangerous and Minwoo thought it was crazy to go alone. Jun-ho told him he does a lot of crazy things. Minwoo knew he can't fight by his side yet and he still have a long way to go. Minwoo won't fall behind next time. Jun-ho smiled and anticipated their next meeting. The dark elven knights blocked Jun-ho and he decided to take out the sword Noya gave him. The dark elven knights before they became corrupted were elven knights that protected the kingdom. They used sword techniques and borrow the strength of the spirits. Jun-ho thought he couldn't defeat them normally, but since their spirit contracts are cancelled, he was confident. One of the knights attacked and Jun-ho dodged while analyzing his enemy. Jun-ho smiled as he was excited about the coming fights. He countered and cut the knight's arm off. The elven knight tried to run away, but Jun-ho blocked him and then stabbed the dark elven knight. The other dark elven knights watched as Jun-ho told them to try harder. Jun-ho noticed that the players are struggling and starting to get overwhelmed by the dark elves. Players getting injured and the healers can't keep up. The players are getting exhausted, but then they say the dark elves running at them. They saw the dark elven knights attacking the other dark elves, but they noticed Jun-ho was luring the dark elven knights to the dark elves and destroying their formation. The players knew Jun-ho was helping them. Minwoo rallied the players and attacked. Jun-ho seeing the players take the upper hand and decided to finish the dark elven knight chasing him. The tribe chief watched as his minions died. The tribe chief was angered by Jun-ho's mocking of the dark elves and was ready to fight. The tribe chief took a stance and Jun-ho was surprised because only elves with the power of spirits can use that technique called Genia Manus and the corrupted dark elves can't use it. The tribe chief attacked and they clashed swords. After the exchange, Jun-ho knew it was an original technique made by the tribe chief. The chief and Jun-ho trade blows until Jun-ho managed to injure the tribe chief. The tribe chief, seeing his loyal followers dead, was enraged and attacked Jun-ho. He was sent flying before crashing to the wall. The tribe chief followed with another attack, but Jun-ho dodged and thought this was the power they saw in Miri's vision. Jun-ho took out a gun, but the tribe chief sliced the bullet and attacked Jun-ho. Jun-ho knew he can't hide his powers any longer, but was hesitant seeing there were too many people watching him. The tribe chief landed a kick on Jun-ho which sent him flying to the walls. Jun-ho was severely injured and can barely move. The tribe chief was in the motion of killing Jun-ho, but the other players grabbed the tribe chief, stopping his attacks. Minwoo ordered to protect Jun-ho. The healers came up to Jun-ho and found his ribs are broken and it will take 30 minutes to heal him. One of the players said that they saw him defeat the dark elven knights and push the enemies alone and told him that it was inspiring. There were only a few enemies left, which was why they were able to help him. Jun-ho asked them to give him 10 minutes to recover. The players were struggling to hold the tribe's chief and doesn't know if they can hold on for that long. The chief broke free and started to attack. The players went back to formation deciding to put their lives on the line. The tribe chief was furious seeing the players not giving up. The tribe chief felt nervous seeing Jun-ho looking at him. The tribe chief went on a killing spree putting the players in desperation. Jun-ho stood up and thanked the players. The tribe chief attacked, but Jun-ho covered both of them with a screen blocking the players outside. The players thought it was the tribe chief's skill and was worried about Jun-ho. The tribe chief asked Jun-ho if he was hiding his true power. Jun-ho froze the area while asking if this was what a boss monster feels when looking down on humans. Jun-ho divided frost power into 3 categories. First was the utility where he freezes the ground, giving him a field advantage and lowering his opponent's stamina. The second was intuitive. He covers his armor in ice to increase his defense. The final is by using the frost skill to supplement attacks. He covers the watchguard of darkness and ice, saving him mana. The tribe chief blocked Jun-ho's attack and asked him why he hid his power. He answered that he couldn't help it and asked the same question to the tribe chief. The chief explained that his ability allows him to borrow the power of a corrupt spirit and something he can use for long. Jun-ho told the tribe chief that he will only need 5 minutes to kill him. The chief laughed, but he stopped when Jun-ho displayed a skill similar to a sword aura. Jun-ho explained that it was a technique he created which strengthened the sword using his magic, and he called it Ramadat. Jun-ho attacked, and the tribe chief didn't have the time to react. In the next scene, we see the tribe chief on the floor with Jun-ho's sword embedded in his chest. The chief requested Jun-ho to finish him in 1 strike. Jun-ho showed him the unknown ball asking if he knew what it was. The tribe chief was surprised to see that it was a spirit egg and that the spirit can be born wherever there is the power of the world tree. The tribe chief gave Jun-ho his necklace which contained the power of the world tree and told him to pour his magic into the egg to hatch it. The tribe chief prayed to the world tree to have mercy on his followers as he was dying. Jun-ho couldn't believe that the ball was a spirit egg. If you make a contract with a spirit, you can use powerful abilities without consuming mana. Jun-ho remembered feeling jealous when he sees people with a spirit. Jun-ho was sure it was a darkness spirit as spirits make contracts with those who have good synergy with it. He can already see fighting alongside it. Jun-ho hatched the egg smiling. The players outside have defeated the remaining dark elves and were waiting for Jun-ho to come out. They were all worried. They suddenly saw a message that they have cleared the gate and cheered for Seo Jun-ho. The boundary disappeared and they saw Jun-ho walking out. The players greeted and thanked him, but Jun-ho just said he was fine and walked away. They thought it was because of the hard-fought battle. On the plane, saw the news of him clearing the gate, but he didn't care saying it was all useless. He was feeling bad as he didn't get a darkness spirit but got a frost spirit instead. And it was the Frost Queen. She was curious how the planes could fly without magic. Jun-ho was thinking that she was the one that froze his friends and terrorized people around the world and that he was the one that killed her. He wondered why she became his spirit. The spirit said that she was called and was the most compatible with Jun-ho's magic, meaning the element that he was most suited for is frost. Jun-ho reasoned he only used frost for only 3 months, while he used Watchguard of Darkness for 5 years. The spirit told him to stop being stubborn and make a contract with her. Jun-ho told her that he won't because of the things she had done to the people. She asked him what has she done. Jun-ho stopped because he can't think of anything. He said she froze the Pacific, but then it stopped global warming. He thought of his friend she was the one who froze them. The spirit explained she was not the one that froze them and her powers helped him melt the ice and insist she didn't do anything wrong and felt sorry for herself that he killed her. Jun-ho secretly messaged Doop-gu and asked him what the frost did wrong. He replied that she froze him and the 5 heroes and nothing more. The Frost Queen saw it and was curious. Jun-ho asked her why he would want to make a contract with her. She offered to be his teacher, but Jun-ho said that she lost to him. She agreed, but reasoned that Jun-ho defeated her in a weakened state and swore on her existence that she didn't lie. Jun-ho knew the oath of existence that magicians use with their magic on the line. He asked her how weak was she. She replied, but Jun-ho can't believe her answer and called bullshit. Jun-ho finally agreed to make a contract with her on one condition, that she will not endanger the people around him, and she agreed. Jun-ho thought that he was still too weak to clear a 1-star gate on his own, But with her help, it will be enough, and we'll try to see how strong the Frost Queen is. In the association training room, Junho was excited to witness the spirit's capabilities. However, the spirit abruptly stopped her demonstration and announced that she had lost interest and no longer wanted to use her powers. This made Junho angry and he felt a headache coming on. The spirit explained that when she becomes curious about something, she loses her concentration. Junho asked her what she was curious about. Later, we see Junho taking the Frost Queen outside. She was amazed and continually asked Junho questions about everything she saw. Junho became frustrated and asked if others could see her. The Frost Queen replied that only if she wanted them to. She then spotted a cat and approached it, but it tried to bite and swipe at her. She exclaimed that it was a ferocious beast. Junho explained that it does not bite humans because they are bigger and only shows its weak side to those who are strong. The Frost Queen became angry and promised to show Junho her power in the training room. Inside, the Frost Queen summoned various weapons in an instant, leaving Junho impressed. He thought she could wage war on her own. Junho told her not bad, which angered her. He told her that he can make these things given the time and that what he wants from her is something that he can do. The Frost Queen thought for a while, then showed him. Junho was excited and the Frost Queen was pleased. At the president's office, Junho asked Dookgu if he knows what the Frost Queen looks like. He answered no because only Junho and the 5 heroes saw her. Junho asked the queen to show herself. Dookgu was scared and that offended her. Junho explained to Dookgu how he got the Frost Queen and said that she will be a big help in battles. Dookgu asked what's her class. The queen said she was an arch spirit, but they didn't believe her. Junho told Dookgu that he wants to clear 1-star gates alone. With the queen's help he can do it. Dookgu said that there are only 3 1-star gates left on Earth located in South America. China last is Antarctica, which Junho plans to clear next. Gate name Winter Castle. Junho asked the Frost Queen if she knows anything about the dimensional elevator. Junho thought that if they can find out its origins, they can put an end to everything. She replied that she knows nothing and explained that when she was defeated by Junho, she can't remember any information about it. The queen assured him that even though her memories disappeared, she will be of great help to him in the days to come. Junho asked her how does she use her power, as he knew spirits don't consume magic from their contractor. She explained that spirits use their contractor's mental strength, and if the contractor's mental strength weakens, a spirit would be unable to use their abilities. In the press conference, Junho told the press that he would enter the Cave of Trials. The Cave of Trials is where players face different levels of trials, and every time a player clears a trial in the cave, they are given the choice to continue or to give up and leave safely, unlike other gates. Junho continued that he will be challenging the Winter Castle. The press went wild. Frost Queen was worried about Junho, as many think it was too early for him to enter the Cave of Trials. Junho told her that the Cave of Trials rewards players depending on how much they suffered, and the difficulty of the gate is fixed. Meaning that if you are even 1 level lower, you will receive more rewards for clearing the same level. The Cave of Trials doesn't allow players to enter again once they receive their rewards. Junho thought that he may be allowed again, reasoning that he entered as Spectre and lost the rewards and his stat resetted. Junho asked the Frost Queen to help him in his training. After they get back, the queen was happy as she will become his master. Junho met with the first floor administrator of the dimensional elevator named Gray. The administrator referred to him as Spectre, surprising Junho, and congratulated him for his return. The queen was also surprised as he could see her too and referred to as sovereign of the cold Frost Queen. The administrator told Junho that he already cleared the trials 28 years ago, and the rules stated that those who already received the rewards cannot enter a second time, even if Junho changed his name. Junho reasoned that he already lost the rewards he received from the Cave of Trials. The administrator analyzed him and found that he is telling the truth while releasing his aura. The administrator found that the problem isn't about breaking the rules, but an issue of fairness, as Junho already knew what trials he will face in the cave and that it will be unfair to the other players. Junho told the administrator to increase the difficulty to balance it out. The administrator asked him if he could handle it. Junho was confident. The administrator agreed and wished him luck. While leaving, the queen asked why her memories disappeared. The administrator answered that he cannot speak of that. They were teleported inside the Cave of Trials. The Frost Queen was frustrated that she has no memories related to the floors. Junho started the trials and completed the level 1 magic trial easily. The queen praised him, but boasted if it was her it would only take her 1 second. A message appeared if would like to proceed to the gravity trial. Jun-ho decided to continue without rest. The queen asked why Jun-ho suddenly struggling to move, and Jun-ho told her that the second trial changes the force of gravity on the body every minute, and the following trials are all things considered to be torture. He finished the trial and decided to continue. Frost Queen was worried and told her to rest first. Jun-ho thought this would give him better rewards the more he suffers. The next was the Phantom Trial. Jun-ho remembered the illusion where he fought to save his parents from monsters and had to remind himself that it isn't real. It ended after half a day. The illusions appeared. He saw it was his comrades calling him a liar and a traitor. Frost Queen told him to not listen to them, but Jun-ho remembered how they sacrificed and sent him up knowing they would die. Jun-ho shouted and wouldn't want them to be insulted like this. Jun-ho knew that fighting them all at once will be suicide. He asked the Frost Queen to stop Skaya and Ramadat. The Frost Queen told him that it will take a huge toll on his mental energy. Jun-ho replied it doesn't matter, and how long can she hold them? She estimated about 30 seconds. Jun-ho decided to take out Hilberto and Mio because they have low defense. While the Frost Queen summoned ice golems to attack Skaya, Jun-ho felt his mental strength draining. Ramadat tried to attack Jun-ho, but the Frost Queen stopped him. As Jun-ho advanced, Hilberto aimed and fired at him, but he managed to evade the shot. Jun-ho realized that even though it was an illusion, Hilberto's magic bullet was flawless. As Hilberto lined up another shot, Jun-ho suddenly vanished. Hilberto was shocked as Jun-ho reappeared behind him using a night walk technique and killed him with one strike. Mio was furious and swore to take revenge. Jun-ho knew it would be challenging to defeat her in a sword fight, but he thought he might have an opportunity to attack as she was emotionally affected by Hilberto's death. She attacked Jun-ho, but she got careless and gave Jun-ho an opportunity to strike and killed her instantly. The Frost Queen was already struggling as her golems were destroyed by Skaya. Jun-ho came and blocked some of the attacks and protected the Frost Queen. He praised her for a job well done. Ramadat attacked while Skaya supported him from the backline. Jun-ho knows the two have the strongest synergy and will have to go all out to defeat them. Jun-ho attacked, but Ramadat just took it and was unaffected. He ran away while Skaya attacked with magic and Ramadat followed him. Ramadat blocked him and hit Jun-ho with a body blow. Jun-ho used the opportunity to attack and stabbed him. Ramadat was confident the attack won't affect him, but Jun-ho used the law of life and it pierced through his body. Skaya went berserk seeing Ramadat die. Jun-ho used the death scythe to break through the shield that protects Skaya. He finished the attack and was thankful that it was not the real Skaya or he would have lost. He cleared the trial and decided to continue. Jun-ho woke up in the rest area after sleeping for 30 hours straight. The Frost Queen was astonished by the death scythe's power but knew it took a huge toll on Jun-ho. Frost Queen asked how many trials remain. Jun-ho was unsure because the administrator changed the contents and the difficulty. After exiting the rest area, the fourth trial begins, and it was the insomnia trial, and he cannot sleep for 10 days. After 60 hours, Jun-ho was miserable as the Frost Queen reminded him not to fall asleep. 98 hours and he was close to falling asleep, but the Frost Queen woke him up. 24 hours left. The Frost Queen was cheering for him. Jun-ho thought that he need to at least reach the 9th level to save his comrades and receive the stats and hero's mind reward. Jun-ho woke up from his thought when he heard the Frost Queen calling him and pointing to the timer already over. He was relieved and lay down. Jun-ho rested, then entered the sense trials, which tested his sense of smell, taste, sight, and hearing. Next, it was the stillness trial, which combined the sound and silence trial. The Frost Queen communicated with him using Morse code asking if he will eat. He thought she was having fun using it after teaching her. Jun-ho was determined to finish the trials. He knew up next was the void trials where most of the players give up, and he remembered he was one of them. As he finished the stillness trial, a message appeared that trials 9 and 10 void trial and time trial will happen concurrently. Jun-ho was surprised, then a warning appeared saying to cancel if he can't handle the trial, as his existence may disappear. Jun-ho knew he can be stuck and unable to feel anything. Jun-ho signaled to the Frost Queen that he will be back. She wished him good luck and will wait for his return. He began the trial and was surrounded by the void. Jun-ho was wondering how much time has passed and thought if he would give up just like the last time. He reminded himself that he made a choice and he refused to die in a place like this. Jun-ho woke up with the Frost Queen greeting him. He asked how much time has passed, and she said it was 10 days. Jun-ho cursed the cave, as he thought he was there for a month. The queen noticed that something has changed in him. Jun-ho checked his body and found that his magic loss rate was at 0% compared to 3% when he was Spectre. He was on the same level as Skaya, who was blessed by magic. This gives him perfect magic control. He tested it out and attacked the cave walls. They were surprised, and the queen said was much stronger than last time. He cleared the trials and was impatient to see rewards. Jun-ho saw that 2 of his skill increased by 2, and while his stats increased by 20, it was double the number of rewards he got in the past. He also noticed a new title limit breaker, which gives him 1 random stat every time he levels up. Jun-ho estimated that by the time he reaches level 130, he would have 100 bonus stat in total, increasing the gap between him and the other players. The Frost Queen interrupted Jun-ho's daydreaming and said she wanted to leave the place. Outside, a monk and a bodyguard were waiting, but then they noticed the Cave of Trial rankings had been updated and Seo Jun-ho was now ranked number 1, having successfully cleared the 10th floor. The monk was surprised, exclaiming that a legend had just been born. Meanwhile, Cal Siner is seen visiting an orphanage and a blonde man greets him at the entrance. The blonde man says that they are doing this for the heavenly demon. Cal Siner addresses the man as Milo Torres and cautions him about casually mentioning that name around children. The blonde man snaps his fingers and all the children stop what they are doing. Torres Milo said they are being trained to become powerful fiends like him. Torres Milo claps his hand and the children return to their previous activity. Torres Milo then invited Cal Siner inside. Duke Gu informed Jun-ho that the orphanage they were looking for is located in Paris and showed him a picture of Torres Milo, a retired player. He was seen walking with children, and every time Torres Milo appears in the area, a missing persons report will be filed within a week. He also shows up downtown once every 2 months, and next week will be exactly 2 months. In the following scene, Jun-ho is fatigued and unable to locate the orphanage. The Frost Queen suggests they return to their lodgings and rest. As Jun-ho is walking, a child collides with him and attempts to steal from him, but Jun-ho apprehends the child and demands that he return the stolen item. The child returns the watch and Jun-ho threatens to call the police. Jun-ho then inquires if the child is familiar with the area, to which the child confirms. Jun-ho treated the child to a meal and found his name was Marco. Marco was eating, but he remembered his family at home. Jun-ho asked how many are they in the family and ordered takeaway for them. Jun-ho found that they have parents. Marco replied that they don't, but there is a priest who visits the family once a month and thinks they are from the Vatican. The priest said that to make them clean human beings they take 1 child at a time to paradise and said paradise is where they can study, wear clean clothes and eat 3 meals a day, but Macro doesn't want to go to paradise because the priest gives off a bad vibe. Jun-ho asked if they were able to see the kids that went to paradise. Marco replied that they can't see them, but the priest sometimes brings the letter the children wrote themselves. Jun-ho asked when is the priest's next visit and invented a story that he lost his sister and maybe the priest could help him. Marco told him that he will help him meet the priest. In the Vatican, Spectre came to meet the Pope. The Pope was embarrassed that they were living comfortably while Spectre and the 5 heroes fought for peace. Jun-ho asked the Pope if he knows something about paradise, but the Pope was unaware. Jun-ho thought that the people who were impersonating the priest and kidnapping children must be demons. Before he left, Jun-ho warned the Pope that a fire may break out in the next few days and to have the fire brigade ready. In Marco's lodging, Jun-ho woke up while Marco was asking him why did he sleep there. Jun-ho told Marco to guide him to the priest. While they were walking, the Frost Queen noticed that Marco's steps were light, so Jun-ho asked Marco if he was an aspiring player. Marco confirmed and said he was practicing to be a player. Jun-ho told him it will be hard. Marco replied that he will do it to protect his family and remembered the priest said there is a player training course inside paradise. Jun-ho thought this must be their way of capturing talented children. Marco plans to go when the priest visits, and after he receives his license, he will be able to earn and enter the gates. He intends to become an amazing player like Spectre. On their way to the church they saw Torres Milo with a child. Marco knows the child and calls for her and said she left the family 2 months ago to join Paradise. Torres Milo instructed the child to greet Marco with a cheerful demeanor and the child hugged Marco while smiling. Torres Milo also greeted Marco. Jun-ho approached them while pretending to scold Marco. Torres Milo was suspicious of Junho because he was wearing a mask and sunglasses. Junho introduced himself as Sunny as they shook hands. Torres Milo noticed something and asked Junho if he was a player. Junho confirmed and said he was only level 27, which disgusted Torres Milo as he thought to himself that Junho wasn't worth his time. Junho asked Marco if Torres was the one from Paradise, and he confirmed and said he saw Torres with the priest. Torres was confused about how Junho found out about Paradise. He fate-cried and said that his reason for coming here was to find his younger sibling that was lost 15 years ago, and he learned about Paradise while searching for his sibling. Torres thought that he can't let Junho go as the existence of Paradise might be exposed to the world, so he decided to invite him to the orphanage. Junho thanked him. They arrived at the orphanage and a teacher welcomed them. Torres secretly told the teacher to make sure that no one followed them. Torres brought them to the auditorium and showed the children training to be players. Torres asked Junho if he could teach the children a lesson and introduced him. Some of the teachers also entered the room. The eyes of the teacher and the children turned red. Marco was surprised as Junho told him to remember those eyes are proof that Torres is a demon. Junho asked if he fed the children demon's blood. Torres mocked him and said some children refused, but after killing some of them, they rushed to drink it. Marco was angered knowing that all of the kids that went were turned into demons. He tried to attack Torres, but he was stopped by one of the children. Torres laughed at him as Marco said they will be punished by Spectre. Torres said that he would have believed it 25 years ago, and no one will fear Spectre even if he returns. Junho stepped forward and said to Marco that if he wants to become a player, he must hold on to his weapon till the end, even when facing an opponent he can't beat. Junho wore Spectre's mask while saying he wasn't a player yet, so he will help this time. Marco was confused if he was really Spectre, but he asked him to save his siblings. Torres and his minions laughed while mocking Junho, thinking he was an imposter. One of the fiend approached and said if he was Spectre his head should go flying in the next 5 seconds. Junho replied it won't even take 5 seconds as he attacked and killed the fiend. The other fiends were terrified as they recognized the skill Darkness Warden, a dark-type ability that Spectre uses. Torres ordered the fiends to kill Junho, while thinking that there was no way he was the real Spectre. Junho snapped his fingers, and the two fiends got devoured by the darkness instantly. The other fiends tried to dodge. Junho thought it was useless while feeling satisfied that there was no limit to his magic power. He killed the other fiends easily. Torres was terrified as he remembered the legend of Spectre killing 100 demons on the spot. He ordered the children to grab onto Junho to buy time until reinforcement arrives. Junho stopped the kids by covering them with darkness. Torres ran away, but he fell thinking he tripped, but he saw his foot cut off. Junho asked him if they ever considered what it was like for the children to be forcibly turned into fiends. Junho killed him after hearing his then used confession of the dead on Torres. He saw how Torres craved power and became a fiend. In another scene, Torres was kneeling to a man called Chef Roxanne Azar. He tasted Torres's ability and wondered how to make it taste like it. As a reward, he told Torres why the paradise was created. 24 years ago, the fiend established an organization on the 2nd floor and was scared that the 5 heroes will be awakened and kill them. Their solution was to create Paradise and make their own Spectre. Paradise is the ingredient factory to select children who have awakened as demons. And the chef takes the ingredients and manufactures them into a new grade, then use the ultimate sense of taste to create the same abilities as the Spectre. Junho also learned that the chef will be waiting for him on the 2nd floor. Junho felt guilt as he learned that the reason thousands of children forcibly turned into fiends was to create a second Spectre and felt it was all because of him. He knew that once a player becomes a fiend they can't become a human again. He has no choice but to end the children who have been turned into fiends. Junho went inside and saw Marco asking him to save his siblings. Junho told him that it was impossible and explained that if a normal person consumes the fiend's blood, they can only adapt and die or become a fiend. Anna woke up, but she tried to attack Marco. Junho subdued Anna, then a message appeared saying a low level of demonic energy felt and that he can absorb it using the Watchguard of Darkness's ability. Junho was surprised, he wondered if they can still be saved. Marco stood and said he should be one to take care of his siblings. Junho smiled and praised the boy, saying it was rare to find a player that will weep for others and that he will become a good player, but right now there's no need for him to carry such heavy responsibilities. After absorbing the demonic energy from the children, Junho sent them to the Vatican to be examined. A priest came out and said all of the children are confirmed to not be fiends. The Pope arrived and wants to publicly announce the incident and warn about the dangers of the fiend. Jun-ho asked the Pope to take care of the rescued children, as the church has a part in what happened. The Pope agreed to provide housing and education to all the children involved. Marco thanked him and said he will work hard to be his underling, but Jun-ho rejected him, saying he doesn't take underlings, he only accepts comrades. Cal Siner was enraged seeing the news of how Spectre destroyed Paradise and plans to kill him next after Seo Jun-ho. In the Players Association, Spectre saw the people outside cheering for him and was surprised. On their way to the conference, Duke Gu asked Jun-ho what was the announcement about. He asked if Duke remembered when he first woke up and thought the world was peaceful, but it wasn't, and that the absence of the 5 heroes. The fiends thrive and the weak suffered, and that 25 years ago the fiends weren't able to do it. Duke said it was only because the 5 heroes were there to stop them. Duke Gu cautioned him about the dangers of coming back as Spectre, explaining that many people would be targeting him and that people would look to him for answers in any incident that occurs. He also stated that he and his comrades have already done enough. Jun-ho was hesitant, but there was no one but him who can do it. Duke Gu sighed and asked him what he need to do. Jun-ho told Duke Gu to increase the volume of the speaker as much as possible. At the conference, In-ho was observing and saw all the big 6 vice masters and team leaders gathered, but stopped when he noticed Juha was not listening. Juha was excited to see Spectre. Spectre and Duke Gu arrived and the conference started. A reporter asked if he could provide proof that he was indeed Spectre. Jun-ho stood up and displayed a sword aura. Everyone was stunned. The reporter then asked after the incident in Rome and if he will be returning to the field. Spectre replied that he had originally planned to retire as he believed that the world had become peaceful thanks to him and his comrades' sacrifices and felt relieved that they were no longer needed, but after seeing the horrors of Paradise, he realized that he couldn't retire. He told them that over the past 24 years, 6,000 children have been kidnapped and killed by the fiend. The press was shocked by the numbers. Spectre continued that it could have been easily prevented if the players, the guilds, and the association joined hands and make it as the fiends never shows up again. Spectre addressed the fiends and told them Spectre has returned. Jun-ho was satisfied that the announcement is gaining attention. He was startled when the Frost Queen called him just to ask for his help on the TV. As Jun-ho was on his way to the training room, Duke Gu called him to inform him that all of the leaders of the top 6 teams had come to see him. Jun-ho wondered why the Big 6 was looking for him as he asked Duke Gu if they came for Spectre. Duke Gu told him that they came for Seo Jun-ho. He thought about it and understood that the Big 6 were already on the first floor to recruit Seo Jun-ho. Duke Gu warned him that some of the Big 6 are violent and that they rather break something if they can't have it. Jun-ho laughed as he thought of an idea. Jun-ho arrived and greeted the Big 6 and asked what they wanted. One of them said they wanted to recruit him as he was ranked first in the Cave of Trials. The others were there for the same reason. Jun-ho apologized and said that he couldn't transfer to another organization. One of the Big 6 offered to pay any fees for breaking his contract, but Jun-ho stopped them by putting Spectre's sword, the demon beheading sword, on the table. Jun-ho explained that Spectre had given him the sword as a token of proof and had chosen him to be his official delegate. The Big 6 were surprised by this. Juha didn't think that Jun-ho was this close to Spectre. Jun-ho continued that Spectre had proposed 3 conditions. First, Jun-ho would continue his affiliation with the association to avoid bias. Second, the guilds that accepted the proposal would receive a great amount of information and influence on the second floor. And third, the guilds that accepted the proposal would provide any information that Spectre requested. In return, upon receiving the information, Spectre would publicly announce the guild's contribution. Juha thought that the Big 6 had no choice but to accept the offer in order to receive his approval, as after Spectre's conference, the guilds were investigated for not doing enough to stop the fiends and were only concerned about filling their pockets. The Big 6 said they would need to consult with their guild masters. Jun-ho left saying they should contact him if they made a decision. The Big 6 knew that as long as Jun-ho was Spectre's proxy, they wouldn't be able to recruit him, and they wondered if Spectre saw potential in Jun-ho to become as strong as the 5 heroes. They also knew that Spectre had an eye for spotting potential, as he did with Hilberto Green, who only had 1D rank skill, but everyone ignored him, only Spectre saw his potential. Juha caught up to Junho. Junho joked that he wouldn't give her special treatment just because they were acquainted. Juha denied it and asked if he was close to Spectre. Junho told her that it was only a professional relationship. She requested that Junho get her book autographed by Spectre. Junho reluctantly agreed as she requested to draw a heart on. Junho told her that he won't write something cheesy. She thanked him and left. In the training room, Junho reviewed his stats and discovered they were similar to when he was at level 60 in the past. He realized that when he enters the second floor, he will be at a disadvantage even with the use of Spectre's name and will need information from the Big Six to succeed. Junho summoned 10 level 100 dummies and decided to relearn all the skills he had used in the past before heading to the second floor. He demonstrated his abilities by dodging an attack from one of the dummies and then countering with an attack infused with magic. The Frost Queen noticed this, and Junho confirmed that it used a lot of magic energy. He remembered a technique taught by Skaya called Booster and used it to charge and unleash a powerful punch that destroyed the area, impressing the Frost Queen. However, after the display, Junho was exhausted and explained that even when he was Spectre, he could only use the booster technique for 10 minutes. Therefore, he plans to train until he can use it effectively in battle and then challenge the Winter Castle. A week later, the Frost Queen reminded Junho that his body temperature was too high and suggested that he use the Frost skill to lower it. Junho replied that he had tried, but if he used both the Frost and Booster techniques simultaneously, he couldn't control it. He estimated that it would take a few months for him to be able to use them effectively in battle. Despite this, he was satisfied with his training and contacted his secretary, informing her that he will be heading to the Winter Castle Gate in Antarctica. Junho arrived in Antarctica with Dukgu, who was shivering. Dukgu left immediately as his only task was to bring Junho there. The Frost Queen remarked that Dukgu was too fragile for the harsh weather. Upon arriving at the gate, Junho checked the information and saw that the clear objective was to defeat the Lord of the Winter Castle with a difficulty level of brutal. He entered the gate and wondered where the castle was located, but the Frost Queen directed him to go northwest and informed him that they were in the Ice Kingdom of Niflheim, the country she used to rule. The Frost Queen was perplexed as to how the Winter Castle still existed since she had left it. Junho asked her for any information about the castle, such as the number of guards or if there were any secret passages. The Frost Queen became angry as he was asking her to reveal the country's secrets. Junho jokingly suggested that their destinies were already connected and they would be together forever. Eventually, the queen relented and shared what she knew, mentioning that she had initially intended to summon all of her knights to the previous gate that Junho had entered when he was Spectre. The Frost Queen remembered there were 27,000 soldiers in the Winter Castle, but believed the number to be lower because they were now inside a gate. She also mentioned that it might be possible that the only one in the castle was Sir Kiss, a loyal knight who was the lord of the Winter Castle and known as the Sword of the Kingdom. Junho asked about his strength, to which the Frost Queen replied that Sir Kiss would only need one finger to defeat him. Junho thought that Sir Chris was stronger than her, but she became angry and explained that she was extremely weakened when they fought. Junho was relieved as he thought that Sir Chris might also be weakened. The Frost Queen explained that behind the door, there was a hall where 100 knights awaited, and he would have to fight each one to prove his strength. Junho exclaimed why she had only told him this now. She reassured him that during the proof of knighthood, the fights would be one at a time. As he opened the door, he saw the knights facing him, the door closed, and the knights drew their swords. A knight named Horan Simus asked him to state his purpose, and the Frost Queen instructed him to say that he came to prove his knighthood. Junho was doubtful as the knight repeated his question and warned him that if he did not answer, he would be considered a trespasser. Reluctantly, Junho said that he came to prove his knighthood. 3 months have passed, and Junho is shown sitting in front of a fire, eating his bread as he reflects on what had happened. The first knight stepped forward and pointed his sword at him, but Junho found the fight to be enjoyable. He noticed that all of the knights he fought were strong, and if they were compared to players, they were at least level 100. Their fighting techniques were almost flawless, and all of them used weapon aura that is unique to them. He wondered if they were more dangerous than players. Junho was not aware that sword aura could have diversity. The Frost Queen asked him to explain what he meant. He explained that a player only uses one type of weapon aura, infusing magic into their blade to create an aura like a flame. However, the knights use auras like drills or sharp auras like spears. Junho asked if there were player systems in Niflheim, and the Frost Queen was certain that there were not. Junho assumed that the knights cannot obtain stats or skills, they achieved their level just through training their bodies and magic all their lives. The Frost Queen asked Junho if he had any insight on using his sword aura, to which he replied that all that is needed to create an aura is enough magic power and understanding. The queen said that her knights found a weapon they could handle well and created an aura that best suited their fighting style and weapon. As a result, Junho decided to learn more about weapons and make a new aura his goal. After training for 3 months, Junho challenged the knights again. The knight attacked him with a sword wave. Junho blocked the attack but was still affected by the aftershock. He retaliated by using the same technique the knight used, and the other knights were surprised. Junho smiled and invited the other knights to attack. After a while, Junho defeated the knights. Haran Simus approached him and asked for his name. Junho introduced himself, and upon hearing his name, the knight told him that out of all the knights he had faced, Junho had left the greatest impression. Then he gave him a token of honor, a symbol that shows that he has proven his knighthood. The knight explained that those who have passed the test may request a meeting with the lord of the castle. The knights bid their farewell to Junho as he leaves to meet the lord. He felt the pressure coming from Kiss Bremen as he saw the lord sitting on his throne. Upon facing Kiss Bremen, Junho realized that he was a powerful adversary. The Frost Queen remarked that Kiss seemed to know that Junho was a player. He agreed, as evidenced by the intense aura of bloodlust emanating from Kiss. Junho took out his spear and launched a direct attack against Kiss, but his strike was effortlessly blocked. Despite this setback, Junho pressed on with multiple follow-up attacks, all of which were parried by Kiss, much to Junho's surprise. Frost Queen warned him about activating his booster ability too early in the fight, but Junho knew he couldn't hold back against such a formidable opponent. He inquired about the duration of the booster, and the Frost Queen informed him that he could sustain it for 1 minute and 2 seconds. With this knowledge, Junho resumed his assault on Kiss, and the two clashed fiercely. However, the confrontation ended abruptly when Kiss sent Junho crashing into a wall, shattering his weapon in the process. Upon realizing the significant gap in weapon quality, Junho switched to his main weapon, while Kiss activated his ability, causing a thick mist to fill the room. The Frost Queen informed Junho that the mist was called a Shen mist, and although it held no special properties, it would impair his vision and make it difficult to anticipate Kiss's movements. Junho was frustrated by the decreased visibility and opted to deactivate his booster ability and focus on locating Kiss. Suddenly, Kiss launched an attack from behind, but Junho managed to evade it. He counterattacked, but Kiss swiftly grabbed him, slammed him to the ground, and attempted to stab him in the head. Junho narrowly avoided the attack but sustained an injury to his shoulder. Fortunately, the Frost Queen intervened and managed to push Kiss away from Junho. Junho acknowledged that he couldn't afford to let Kiss continue attacking him, and the Frost Queen proposed an ambush strategy. However, Junho rejected the idea, explaining that Kiss was too formidable for him to conceal his presence successfully. Junho realized that this was the worst possible scenario for him, and his mind was becoming increasingly clouded due to the strain of using the booster ability. Moreover, the Ascent mist was causing him additional problems, while Kiss was taking advantage of the situation and gaining the upper hand. Junho resolved that it was time to reverse the situation. Meanwhile, Kiss was impressed that Junho had managed to evade him and remain hidden within the Ascent mist. However, Kiss could sense Junho's presence and knew he was close. Kiss saw an outline in the mist and swiftly attacked, but Junho was not there. Suddenly, Kiss found himself frozen, realizing that he had fallen into a trap. Junho then emerged behind him and explains to Kiss that mist is formed by concentrated water vapor and can be turned into ice by lowering the temperature. Kiss attempted to retreat, but Junho froze him and delivered a fatal blow. He was surprised to find that Kiss was still alive. Kiss asked for forgiveness from His Majesty. Junho noticed this and asked the Frost Queen why she wasn't revealing herself. The Frost Queen replied that she didn't deserve to because a monarch must protect their people, but she failed to protect the knights of the Winter Castle, who were also citizens of Niflheim. The Frost Queen approached Kiss and spoke to him, stating that this was what it meant to be weak, to cry out in silence with no one to answer. Junho received a message indicating that he and his party had successfully cleared the Winter Castle and received the armory key as a reward, along with an increase in his stats due to the limit breaker. He had also completed the hidden quest of the Winter Castle, resulting in an increase in his weapon mastery. Junho was pleasantly surprised by the generous rewards and felt that his 3-month stay was worth it. Upon arriving at the armory, he was informed that he could only choose one weapon and would be teleported outside after making his selection. Junho was disappointed. Frost Queen assumed that Gray, the administrator, may still be watching him. After analyzing the available weapons, Junho chose the Cruel Executioner halberd, which had the ability to recover his stamina. He was satisfied with his choice as it would allow him to fight multiple opponents while continuously recovering his stamina. As they walked out of the castle, Junho caught sight of a portrait of a woman and was struck by her beauty. However, upon closer examination, he recognized the woman's hair and clothing and began to suspect that it was the Frost Queen depicted in the portrait. He asked her about it and she became flustered, refusing his request to remove her blindfold and urging him to leave. After returning to the association, Cha Si-yoon remarked that Junho looked like a man who was rescued from a deserted island. Junho asked if he really looked that bad, but Si-yoon thanked him for returning safely. Meanwhile, people discussed doubting whether Junho was really part of the association. Si-yoon apologized to Junho for the crowd's reaction upon his return and expressed the association's difficulties during Junho's absence. The complaints from sponsors and commission requests had ceased, and some even demanded to have their funds returned. The president was having a tough time, but they could not do anything without Junho, who had built the association's reputation. Junho tells Secretary Cha that they don't have to pay attention to people's opinions, regardless of the association's reputation. Cha expresses concern about the negative attitudes towards Junho after only 3 months, but Junho clarifies that he fights for his own goals and not for others. Cha admits that Junho is correct and wishes she had realized it sooner. Junho then lightens the mood and jokes about Cha's occasional denseness. Si-yoon joked with Junho that she was too dense to fulfill her duties, such as relaying messages from the Big Six. As she walked away, Junho called out to her. After being informed of Spectre's request to gather information about the fiends and send it within 30 minutes, the Dokibi Guildmaster, Shin Sung-hyeon, ordered the messenger to compile and send all information below mid-level. However, the messenger was hesitant and suspected that Spectre made a similar request to the other guilds as he encountered other messengers from the Big Six. Sung-hyeon realized that Spectre intended the guilds to compete against each other. He assumed that Spectre knew that the guilds had agreed to limit the information they provided. Spectre likely plans to discard those that do not provide valuable intelligence. Sung-hyeon felt that they were all being controlled by Spectre. He then ordered to give all information except the classified and top-secret ones. Sung-hyeon opted to make it clear to Spectre about their stance so that the Dokibi Guild would be the sole guild he would cooperate with. While waiting for the guilds to respond, Junho reflected on the risk he took by setting a 30-minute deadline for the information request. He desired to turn the guild masters' tactics against them. Junho received the replies from the Big Six guilds, which came in earlier than he expected. He speculated that the guilds probably made an agreement to limit the level of information they provide him during the time he was gone. However, by forcing them to compete with each other, he was able to get valuable information that cannot be bought with money. Junho believes that despite being called the Big Six, they still have a lot to learn. Junho plans to enter the second floor, Frontier, in 10 days, and to prepare himself, he decided to memorize all the information sent by the Big Six. However, he felt like he was the only one working, while the Frost Queen was watching TV. She explained that she was studying human culture. Junho estimated that it would take him 4 days to read through all the information. The Ruben Empire is the only empire in the second floor of Frontier, and most of the floor is under its control. The Big Six have been assimilating themselves into all corners of the empire for the past 25 years, and there are 3 main factions. Silent Moon and Dokibi are affiliated with the Imperial family, Labyrinth and Sky Soul focus on gaining control of other regions, and Silver Constellation has control over the Church of the Sun. In addition, the Hallam Guild has founded a new mercenary guild that covers the most ground in terms of activity and is separate from the 3 factions. Junho expresses curiosity about the world of Frontier, which he has never experienced before, and wonders what kind of place it will be. Cha Si-yoon visited Dyaku and submitted a resignation letter. When Dyaku asked the reason for resigning, Si-yoon reminded him of the day she first came to the association. We then see Si-yoon's story. A few years ago, there was a talented healer in the Shumern, a region on the second floor. They called her a saintess. She spent her whole life helping others, but when she fell into a crisis, no one offered a helping hand to her. Except one. She tells Dyaku that she respects him and Spectre equally, but while talking to Junho, she started to remember her passion that motivated her in the past. Dyaku congratulates her on finding her own path, and Si-yoon requests to return the magic sealing ring on the day of her resignation. Dyaku allows her to do so and congratulates her on her return. Deoku expressed concern when Junho revealed that he had made the Big Six compete with each other and shared the resulting information with him. Upon seeing the quality of the information, Deoku sighed, admitting that it surpassed that of the association. Junho asked about the association's activities on the second floor, and Deoku explained that they had been recruiting players and restructuring their information network to expand their influence in Frontier. However, the association was struggling to catch up to the Big Six, who had already established dominance over the most valuable areas after 25 years, leaving the association to the outskirts. Junho suggested making a significant contribution in a war, but Deoku explained it wouldn't be easy. Junho then revealed he would be going to the second floor in a week. Deoku felt ashamed that they couldn't provide more support for Junho, but Junho comforted him, saying they had already done enough, such as providing him with a new identity, player license, equipment, and lodgings. Junho expressed his gratitude for everything the association had done for him. Junho saw Si-yoon at the association and asked why she was still there. Si-yoon replied that she was helping the president sort through some documents, but Junho questioned why he was making her do it and said he would need to discuss it with him. He then advised her to go home since it was getting late and bid her good night. Deoku came out and saw Junho, who questioned Deoku about why he was making Si-yoon work late. Deoku remembered that Si-yoon asked him to keep her resignation a secret. He then changed the topic and then gave Junho a note with Arthur's address, Hilberto's son, and suggested that he should find and help him. Junho was unsure if Arthur would remember him, and Deoku asked if he would be meeting Arthur as Spectre, but Junho hadn't decided yet. Junho went out to buy some food and was unaware that Cal Signer was watching him. When Junho was walking back, he was surprised to see someone who he assumed was a high-level player. Cal Signer took out his bow, Final Horizon, and suggested they go somewhere else to fight. Junho was confused as to why an archer would confront him at close range and questioned if Cal Signer had made a mistake. Cal Signer remarked that Junho was wrong, stating that the rule only applies when both sides are evenly matched in skill. Cal Signer then threatened Junho with the civilians near them and insisted that he should come with him unless he wanted everyone to die. Cal Signer and Junho moved to a secluded area. Cal Signer praised Junho for not fleeing and gave him two options: to put on magic restraining handcuffs and follow him, or for Cal Signer to cut off Junho's legs and drag him. Junho felt the weight of Cal Signer's magic and realized what it was like to face a level 100 ranker. Junho suggested a third option during their confrontation: to bury Cal Signer in the area. This angered Cal Signer, who attacked immediately, but Junho was able to deflect his arrows. Cal Signer was confused about how a rookie like Junho could do this. Junho explained that there are things in the world that go against common sense and that he was just one of those things. Cal Signer admitted his mistake, realizing he had underestimated someone who had cleared a 1-star gate on his own. Cal Signer acknowledged that Junho had reached a level where no one could go against him on the first floor and that once he reached the second floor, he would climb rapidly. He realized that Junho was much more talented than he had initially thought and that he had the potential to stand on equal footing with the Nine Heavens. Cal Signer felt it was a shame that a talented person like Junho would die by his hands, and he fired multiple arrows at Junho, who struggled to dodge them. Junho then realized that Cal Signer was controlling the arrows with his magic and filling the area with a thick layer of his magic, which was slowing down his movements. Junho realized he couldn't afford to get hit, so he activated Booster and destroyed the incoming arrows. Cal Signer acknowledged Junho's skills and decided to go all out. Junho sensed a shift in Cal Signer's magic from chaotic to calm, and then Cal Signer fired an arrow that destroyed the area where Junho had been standing. However, Cal Signer then felt a cold magic surrounding him as Junho activated his Veil of Darkness. Cal Signer was surprised to see that Junho had two attributes, and he witnessed his own attack being frozen by Junho. Junho revealed that he didn't want to use his frost skill but had no choice and intended to leave no witnesses alive. Cal Signer was eager to discover Junho's true identity and summoned multiple arrows to finish the fight. Junho also wanted to end the battle quickly as he was overusing his booster ability, which could overheat his brain, so he decided to force close combat to kill Cal Signer. Junho charged towards Cal Signer, who laughed thinking Junho was eager to die but was surprised when Junho disappeared and reappeared behind him using Shadow Teleport. Junho landed an attack, but Cal Signer twisted his body to avoid critical damage and countered, pushing Junho back. Junho cursed the regeneration abilities of a fiend as he saw Cal Signer's hand had already returned to normal. To become a fiend, one must drink a demon's blood. However, it is difficult for humans to handle demon powers, so most people dilute the blood with water before drinking it. Despite this, some people drink the blood undiluted for overwhelming power, and the rare few who survive become fiends and gain access to the demon's powers. Cal Siner commented that Junho's ability to suddenly disappear must have specific activation conditions since he didn't use it right away. Cal Siner then vowed to send Junho to hell for sure this time. Cal Siner then offered to spare Junho's life if he put on magic restraining handcuffs, but Junho refused and launched an attack despite being close to his limits. Junho managed to destroy some of the arrows, but some still hit him. Despite being aware that Junho was reaching his limit, Cal Siner was surprised to see him charging towards him. As Junho closed in, Cal Siner managed to catch him, but it was only one of Junho's abilities. Junho then appeared behind Cal Siner and landed a crucial hit. He commanded his watchguard to consume Cal Siner, who then realized that Junho was Spectre. While cursing Junho and questioning why he hid his identity, Cal Siner received no response as the shadows engulfed him. The Frost Queen was watching TV when she remembered Junho's promise to come back soon, wondering where he was. Junho used his ability to read Cal Siner's memories and discovered that Cal Siner came to the first floor specifically to kill him, despite being pursued by the High Blade. He became worried that he might get caught up in something due to killing Cal Siner. From the memories, he found out that the Fiend Association is located in the Shumern region on the second floor, which is consistent with information he obtained from the Dakibi Guild. He also saw that his Confession of the Dead skill rank had increased, but realized that the skill could not be used on a target whose memory had already been read. As Junho reached for the final horizon bow, he felt a powerful force crushing him, and to his surprise, he saw Kim Woojung, the High Blade of the Nine Heavens' Seventh Heaven. He was amazed by Woojung's speed, considering that he was still on the second floor, according to Cal Siner's memories. Woojung mistook Junho for Cal Siner and expressed surprise that he had come down to earth. He explained that it was difficult to track Cal Siner's scent and that the stench of a fiend and the scent of trace incense would always linger on him. He vowed not to let Cal Siner go this time. Junho tried to explain to Woojung that he was not Cal Siner, but Woojung attacked him with an attack that narrowly missed him. Junho realized that Woojung was not willing to listen to him and thought that things were going to get difficult, but he had no other choice. Junho admitted to killing Cal Siner and called someone, and later Woojung talked with Dyaku on the phone after the call. He apologized to Junho. Junho said it was alright and that he would have done the same thing, but Woojung still wanted to compensate him for the inconvenience. Woojung healed Junho's wound using an elixir. Junho thought it was wasteful to use a legendary elixir for a small injury, but Woojung insisted on taking responsibility for his mistake. Woojung expressed his curiosity about how a level 30 player like Junho could defeat Demon Bo Siner alone. Junho agreed to tell him only if he fulfilled his request. To announce that he was the one who defeated Cal Siner and never to reveal Junho's abilities to anyone else. He also asked for Woojung's help in the future if needed. Woojung agreed to help but warned Junho that if his powers strayed from the paths of humans, he wouldn't let it slide. Junho reassured him that it wouldn't be a problem. Junho showed Woojung his frost skill. Woojung was convinced that it was powerful enough to defeat the demon bow and comparable to an S-rank ability. Woojung recognized that this was the association's key to calming the heat on the third floor. Junho stated that this information can never reach the ears of the fiends. Woojung agreed and destroyed the ice surrounding them, while stating that an hour ago he defeated Cal Siner. Junho returned home looking disheveled and was surprised by the sudden appearance of the Frost Queen. She questioned him about his whereabouts as he had said he would only be gone for a short while to meet his friend. Junho replied that something unexpected had happened. Upon seeing Junho's disheveled appearance, the Frost Queen asked about what had happened. Junho revealed that he had faced Cal Siner, a fiend much more powerful than any he had encountered before. When the Frost Queen expressed her lack of familiarity with Cal Siner, Junho elaborated on the fiend's strength. Reflecting on his experience, Junho realized how powerful players have become over the past 25 years and how the truly strong ones reside on the second floor, known as the frontier. Despite his strength, Junho was impressed by Kim Woojung's pleasant personality. Junho felt that he needed to try harder. Junho knew that there are only 8 players on the same level as Kim Woojung, and one of them is an enemy, the King of the Corpses, Nazid Hallow. He is the master of Arma, the skeleton mage, and the fiend who ordered Cal Siner to capture him. Although Junho had prior knowledge about the first floor, he is worried about the unknown challenges that await him on the second floor. The Frost Queen noticed Junho's worried expression and comforted him by patting his head, saying he's been doing well so far. Junho was embarrassed but laughed it off, claiming to be a living legend of the world. The Frost Queen was annoyed with his arrogance, and Junho remembered that he needed to say goodbye to some people before heading up to the second floor, planning to go out early the next day. Silent Moon Guildmaster, Sun Chiwon, was questioning Woo Jung about the Final Horizon's whereabouts. She was irritated as Woo Jung wasn't responding. She asked if he had caught Cal Siner, to which he replied yes. Chiwon then questioned why he didn't bring back the bow, which was his actual mission, and asked if Cal Siner was stronger than he expected. Woo Jung thought that wasn't the case as he could have easily defeated him, but before he could even arrive, Seo Junho had already defeated Cal Siner on his own. He believed that since Junho had defeated Cal Siner, he deserved the spoils, and he had already made an agreement with him. Woo Jung admits that he accidentally killed Cal Siner before he could take out his bow. Chiwon is angry and confused about how Woo Jung, who is considered perfect, could make a mistake. Woo Jung apologizes, but Chiwon forbids him from apologizing further and demands to know the real reason for his failure. Woo Jung then reveals that he was able to gain something more valuable than the Final Horizon: the future. Junho went to visit his comrades and discovered that his magic stat was still not high enough to remove the seal. However, he noticed that the message had changed, leading him to believe that he was getting closer to meeting the requirements. While he was there, he saw that the Frost Queen was feeling guilty about what had happened to his friends. He sighed and asked her if they were still alive. She confirmed that they were, but he needed to become much stronger if he wanted to break the seal. Junho turned around and left. The Frost Queen tried to convince him to stay on Earth a bit longer, but he insisted that visiting Deokyu and Noya before heading to the second floor will be enough. As for his comrades, he reassured her that he would see them again once they were able to meet properly. Upon reaching the elevator that would take him to the second floor, Junho admitted that he was almost late for his flight. This was because Noya had insisted on playing another game of Go, even though they had already played for 7 hours. Noya reassured Junho that he would be fine on his own and told him not to worry. He expressed confidence that Junho would do well no matter where he went. The Frost Queen was in awe of the artificial island created by humans. They came across the dimensional elevator where they were greeted by an association member who warned them about the precautions they needed to take on the second floor, known as the Frontier. The member advised Junho that he would be living in the Ruben Empire and should avoid confronting the powerful nobles. Additionally, they must be wary of fiends and other players who take advantage of the area outside the association's jurisdiction to commit crimes. Junho thanked the member for the advice. As Junho entered the elevator, the association member wished him good luck. Junho selected the second floor button and ascended quickly. He noticed that there were multiple elevators and realized this was why fiends were able to evade the association. Upon arriving at the second floor, the Frontier, Junho's Bringer of Spring title was activated, boosting his stats by 30. He was thrilled to find that there was even more magic power on the second floor than on Earth. People looking to recruit newcomers noticed Junho and assumed he was a newbie who had just arrived. However, one man recognized Junho and assumed everyone was looking to recruit him. Soon, Juha arrived and announced that she would be the one to take Junho. While Junho was admiring the surroundings, Frost scolded him for acting foolish. However, he soon noticed Juha and called out to her. Juha mentioned that Junho's arrival was very close to the deadline and she would have won a bet if he had been even a few days late. Junho apologized, stating that he does not like to lose. Juha inquired if Junho had any issues with the language barrier, but Junho explained that she was the first person he had spoken to. Juha laughed and offered to teach Junho a few things, inviting him to come with her. Juha takes Junho to a cafe that only nobles are allowed to enter, and Junho is impressed by the exclusivity of the place. Juha reveals that she is a baronetess, and Junho is surprised that she is a noble. Juha asks for Junho's first impressions of the Frontier, and he admits that he can feel the difference from Earth. Juha muses about what would have happened if humanity hadn't stopped the gates 30 years ago. Juha explained that it actually happened on the Frontier 1,000 years ago, where countless gates were unable to be fended off and humanity was once annihilated. She mentioned that now, all of the gates have disappeared from the Frontier, though some of the monsters still remain due to their reproduction. While Junho was lost in thought, Juha reminded him of the autograph she requested from Spectre. After he retrieved it, Juha was delighted and presented him with the gift she promised for winning the bet: a recommendation letter. She explained that the letter would allow him to dine with Viscount Haseo of the Maliva territory and possibly receive a quest from him. Juha also mentioned that completing requests from the locals would lead to rewards and that getting close to nobles was important for better rewards. She also pointed out that teleport gates were the easiest way to travel between cities, but he may not be able to use them. Junho inquired as to why he couldn't use the teleport gate, and Juha directed him to check his status window, pointing out his tourist status that only permits him to stay in the world for 90 days. She explained that completing quests and obtaining an identification card from the Adventurers Guild could extend his stay. Juha also cautioned him to be cautious of other players and provided him with a map of the Empire and a guidebook exclusive to their guild members. Junho expressed his gratitude but questioned whether it was appropriate to give such resources to an outsider like him. Juha encouraged him to level up and promised that he would treat her to something good in return. She then left. Frost compared Juha to a fox and expressed frustration about Junho's lack of knowledge about women. Junho suggested finding a place to stay in Gillian since they'll be there for a while. Frost recommended the luxurious Shangri-La, but Junho chose the old run-down resting do to gather diverse information. In the meantime, a group was mugging someone, led by a person named Ply. Ply ridiculed the victim for coming to the frontier with low skills, and after beating him, they took his gold. Ply was pleased with the outcome. Upon entering the establishment, Junho had the impression that he was in a tavern from a game and realized that players from Earth were among the adventurers in Frontier. He noticed that the only way to distinguish them was by the fact that players were the only ones wearing Vita. After sitting down, Junho ordered a drink. However, the server informed him that he needed to pay first and it would cost 51 copper. Remembering Juha's advice, Junho acted confused and pulled out a bag of gold, causing the server to be surprised and cautioning him that displaying that much money in public could be dangerous. Frost assumed he was showing off his wealth, but Junho explained that people with a lot of money often attract flies. 3 individuals approached Junho and demanded to have a conversation with him. Junho complied and followed them to an alley. However, the leader quickly became afraid as Junho easily defeated his companions. Junho demanded that the man kneel and reveal the location of their boss, who he learned was named Ply and could be found in the gambling house. Junho then made his way to the gambling house, recalling that Ply was involved in all entertainment-related activities in Gillian and sat at one of the gambling tables. Fiver noticed Junho's presence and commented on not recognizing him before. Junho explained that he had just arrived in Gillian. Fiver mocked him for heading straight to the gambling house and made assumptions about Junho's previous lifestyle. He questioned if Junho could afford the high stakes, to which Junho confidently replied that he could. As the game began, Fiver quickly realized he was losing to Junho, despite thinking he was a newbie. Unbeknownst to him, Frost was secretly relaying the opponent's cards to Junho. Ply was observing the scene, and he was taken aback as it was the first time he saw Fiver losing money. He immediately ordered his subordinates to bring Junho to him. Meanwhile, Fiver continued to lose, and eventually, he signaled the dealer to cheat for him. However, Frost warned Junho about the dealer's cheating tactics. Junho was not surprised and decided to leave with his winnings, stating that it would be a shame if he lost them. Suddenly, a man approached Junho and informed him that their boss wanted to meet him upstairs. Upon arriving, Ply revealed to Junho his reason for letting players cheat in his gambling house. He was confident in his ability to get his money back. Ply also recognized Junho's fame and addressed him as player Seo Junho. Ply boasted about his control over the entertainment industry in Gillian and his strong connections with the nobles. He claimed that no matter how powerful the players are, they are just outsiders who cannot go against the nobles. Junho acknowledged his statement and proposed a deal to return all the chips he earned in exchange for information on the nobles. This angered Ply, who accused Junho of cheating him and warned him that taking his money by force would be easy. 2 men approached Junho and he expressed his disappointment in trying to solve things peacefully. One of the men attacked, but Junho easily dodged the attack and slammed him to the ground, then took down the other man swiftly. Despite Ply's insistence, the men stood up again, but Junho quickly took them down by flicking chips at them. Ply then drew his gun and threatened Junho to leave the chips. However, as Ply spoke, his gun suddenly disappeared and he saw that Junho was already pointing it at him. Ply warned Junho that pulling the trigger would cause a lot of trouble for both of them. Junho replied that Ply had more courage than he had thought. Ply eventually agreed to talk, but as he began to speak, Junho still pulled the trigger. However, he managed to catch the bullet before it could hit Ply. He then invited Ply for a chat. Junho acknowledged the hard work of Ply and his minions, thanking them for the valuable information they had provided about the second floor. After that, he asked them to leave. Junho then turned his attention to finding a quest. He stumbled upon one that required him to hunt whip wolves, which he found to be suitable. Based on the information provided by Ply, he discovered that a competition would be held in 10 days. With this in mind, Junho intended to level up quickly, aiming to reach at least level 50 before the start of the competition. As Junho was making his way to start the quest, a group of people targeted him and decided to follow him. They assumed that he was a newbie. Junho spotted tracks of the whip wolves and wondered about their strength. He was excited to face a tough opponent. They were then surrounded by the wolves. He used his weapon, Cruel Executioner, but was initially overpowered by the monsters. Junho then managed to cut off the tail of one of the wolves, realizing why no other players had taken the quest due to the difficulty level. Unbeknownst to him, a group of players had been following him and planning to ambush him, impressed by his strength and weapon. After defeating the wolves, Junho considered catching a criminal as he believed increasing his honor with quests alone would not be easy. Frost alerted Junho that someone had been following them, and shortly after, a man approached asking for an autograph. While Junho was distracted, the man's accomplices tried to ambush him. Frost quickly realized their plan and warned Junho. Despite being outnumbered, Junho quickly dispatched the attackers with ease, using one of them as a shield against an attack. The remaining attacker tried to flee but was taken down by Junho. Junho realized that turning the attackers over to the guards would significantly increase his honor. Upon submitting the whip wolf pelts, the Adventurers Guild staff was taken aback by Junho's name and his previous accomplishment of capturing the criminals. As a result, his honor skyrocketed to 550. Junho expressed his relief that he no longer needed to rely on the quest board to increase his honor. When asked about his thoughts on the combat and frontier, Junho replied that it was enjoyable and felt like he was playing a game. Frost observed that Junho seemed to be having a good time while facing new challenges. While wandering around, Junho and Frost stumbled upon Ply seemingly harassing someone. Upon approaching, Ply denied the accusation and claimed that the old man was asking for an impossible request. They all went back to the office where Ply introduced the old man as Haken, a retired mercenary. Junho asked Haken about his request, and Ply revealed that Haken was trying to enter a dungeon despite being retired. Junho became intrigued, as he knew that boss monster materials could be sold for a large sum of money. Junho asks Haken if he has any information about the dungeon, and he learns that it is the Phantom Thief Seraphim's tomb. Haken shares that he and his wife, both mercenaries, raided a dungeon 10 years ago and found ancient writings about a 5-colored goddess statue that could make its owner healthy. They had planned to find the statue before retiring, but last year, Haken's wife was diagnosed with an untreatable tumor. The goddess statue has now become Haken's sole mission to find, even if he has to do it alone. Haken received information that the goddess statue was located in Seraphim's tomb, but was unable to get past the monsters. Ply expressed his sympathy but declined to accompany him. Junho offered to help, and they decided to leave at dawn. Haken was grateful, and Ply promised to help find a caregiver for his wife. Junho acknowledged that clearing quests was more valuable to him than dungeon rewards, but couldn't ignore Haken's request. Upon arriving at the tomb, Haken informed Junho that the area was filled with level 60 kobolds with red fur that was twice the size of ordinary ones, and he suspected that there were even stronger ones deeper inside. As they made their way forward, a kobold approached them, but Haken managed to stop it with his crossbow. Suddenly, they found themselves surrounded by multiple kobolds, and Haken estimated their number to be around 50. Junho assumed that the kobolds remembered Haken's scent. Knowing that they had no hope of winning against the monsters, Haken thought of his wife and urged Junho to run away and come back with reinforcements. He issued a final request for Junho to find the goddess statue and give it to his wife, Sophia. However, Junho rejected the request and insisted that he should be the one to give it to her. Junho then attacked the kobolds, killing multiple monsters and continuing to fight against the remaining ones. Junho froze the monsters and smashed them to pieces, surprising Haken with his strength. Haken expressed gratitude towards Junho, and they continued to explore the tomb together. After defeating more monsters, Haken warned Junho about the traps on the floor, which soon collapsed, revealing a trap. Haken reminded him of the importance of remaining cautious, especially for strong individuals who are more prone to falling into traps. Frost spotted more traps ahead, and Haken taught Junho how to disarm some of them. Junho thought of combining his knowledge with his frost skill. As they entered a room, Haken immediately spotted the 5-colored goddess statue, but Junho remained cautious. Suddenly, a blood kobold champion appeared behind Haken. Junho managed to stop it from attacking and noticed that it was using artificial energy Kai, which led him to wonder if the Fiend Association was involved. Junho attacked, but the monster caught his weapon, so he took out his gun and fired at it. Despite being hit, the monster continued its attack, which Junho managed to evade. Junho then landed multiple attacks, causing the monster to fall to the ground and continued his assault, intending to test how much damage it could take. Like and subscribe if you want me to continue the next chapters, and thank you for watching.